Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Director Watch, an AwardsWatch podcast that attempts to get inside the mind of cinema's greatest auteurs, explore what drives them, and maybe we go on a few unrelated tangents along the way. I'm Ryan McQuade, your executive editor, and joining me, as always, is my co-host for the next 40 to 50 years, Jay Ledbetter.
Right, I think it's pretty cool. We've never done this before. We're starting a director series in the middle of their filmography. Farrelly Brothers, I'm glad we're finally covering them with 2007's The Heartbreak Kid.
Jay,
Can't wait to talk about it.
Jay, I'm sorry. Maybe you watched the wrong movie, but we're actually talking about, and staying on point from last week's episode, we're talking about Elaine May's The Heartbreak Kid.
Oh, I watched that one because it was like I knew the inspiration for the other one. So fortunately, I can still talk about that one, but I thought we were doing Farrelly's.
Well, maybe one day.
I thought we were making our way to Green Book.
Oh my God.
And
could you imagine?
Ricky Stenicki.
Ricky Stenicki. What was the other one too? The greatest beer run ever? Was that what that title was?
That was his big Oscar
he was
follow-up.
Like, you thought Green Book was a fluke? No, it's not. I got beer and Zac Efron and a weird performance from Russell Crowe to sell you.
That's a weird one. And then Ricky Stenicki is like...
Go back to the basics?
Yeah, but it feels like nobody cared about it whatsoever. And meanwhile, the guy had won Best Picture like 3 years earlier. It's insane.
So you did watch that?
I have watched half of Ricky Stenicki.
Why didn't you finish it?
Didn't think it was that good, gotta be honest.
Oh, so you only got to Ricky, you didn't get to the Stenicki part.
John Cena, honestly, pretty good in it.
Well, John Cena is interesting because he makes like really bad choices, but I actually don't think I think he's a good presence. Like he's got charisma. Like he's
sort of like the new Grodin.
You think so? Like if they remade, that was a question I was literally going to ask you today when we were doing this.
Grodin?
No, who if they made a 2025 version of the Heartbreak Kid?
Well, they did it like 15 years ago.
I know,
but
and honestly, Ben
they did
Stiller,
it, in my opinion, poorly.
I know they did it poorly.
Should we just knock out the remake now?
We're going to talk it. Well, we'll talk about it. We got to still get our guest on here in a second, but I do think that Stiller isn't a bad choice for that era. Honestly, I think that his, not that I would 100% like think that Ben Stiller and Grodin like are 1A, 100% comp, but I understand like of that era is like how close do you get to it? Like when I was thinking like 80s and 90s, I was thinking when I was watching the movie, like Michael Keaton would have been in like his comedy era would have been really good in this role.
Sure.
And the wife and I were sitting here going, we don't know who the fuck they would cast in this role now. Like who gets it? Like who gets...
Honestly, who I think it is, and he's probably too hot for it, but I think he can capture kind of that nihilistic wannabe alpha male energy. I'm thinking of him in a film like The Nice Guys. I think Gosling could do it pretty well.
That's 1000% who Megan said it was. So you are on. See, you and Megan, you guys think the same way.
Good call, Megan.
Got to bring our guest on, old friend of the show. Last time he was on here was The Thin Red Line for our Malik series.
For some bangers. I think he's been on for Sorcerer and The Thin Red Line, and now The Heartbreak Kid.
He's batting 1,000 right now. Is our good friend Jake Tropila. Jake, welcome back to the show.
Gentlemen, thank you for having me. It's great to be back. It's great to talk good movies. And hey, we did it. We won. Sorcerer 4K coming out on Criterion.
Yes, we did.
Absolutely.
Yes, we did.
Look,
holy shit.
Here's the only thing I will say. No Sorcerer 4K Criterion before we covered it, and now there is one after.
Our influence?
Anthropologically, you could say cause and effect. Who knows?
That's right. I mean, it's in the history books. People naturally chart the
and you know what?
From where we started.
No one can claim it, so we're gonna fucking do it, right? These
I think
three
the cover art. I thought the cover art was pretty good for that as well.
I think they're doing a paper box for it. It looks like it doesn't look like
or is it a slip cover or like a full on one of their like?
It looks like maybe a slip.
I mean, look, I like a paper box. Although I've been very critical of Criterion.
You have been very critical of this
in the past. Some of it is absolutely absurd. But
it's actually a crate filled with sand, I think, is how they're sending that out to people. So,
and if you open it, every 10th box, if you open it too hard, it will spark and explode.
God damn
right.
it.
You got
Yeah.
these-
So
these,
make sure you're doing it outside, folks, when
of-
you get those.
You've heard of nitrate film? Well, these are glycerin discs. You know, they're gonna set houses ablaze.
Well, you
just
guys
trying
have
to
How
heard-
much do you
entertainment.
care about physical media?
How much do I care? I mean, you know, I got.
I mean, I
got a
can
whole
see
wall
y'all's
behind me.
background. If we were doing this in my living room, you would see mine. Like, I think physical media is a big part of our lives, right, gentlemen? Like, that's a huge thing.
Oh,
Have
for
you
sure.
guys,
Yeah.
did you guys read the thing recently that certain Warner Brother discs um are like, I don't know, like the material on them is fading and they might have to
I mean,
replace
that was
certain movies?
Inevitable. Have you
Is
heard
that-
that thing where it's impossible to watch the Heartbreak Kid in any sort of viable format?
Well,
Yeah.
okay, how did you guys watch this movie? I
Well,
mean, let's just put our cards on
It's
the
on
table.
YouTube. I mean,
I mean,
That's-
that's how I
that's-
watched it.
That's what I watched too. Even though I do own the DVD, I did it for convenience sake because I was napping my child on the couch. So I'm like, you know what? I can just pop on the Roku TV. Oh, look, there it is. It's on YouTube. Perfect. Watch it all the way through his nap. Had a great time.
Kid didn't
But,
pull it off the shelf and say, "Dad, this one.
No,
Let's watch this."
no, not yet. You know, he's still got a ways to go. But yeah,
Can't wait for that
day. It's funny because even Ishtar has a decent Blu-ray release at least. It's
Yeah.
in HD.
Can't find
There's-
that darn thing though right now.
Oh, is
it's
it out
like-
of print?
It's kind of like, yeah, it's
out of
kind of.
print. You can find it for like $70 on eBay.
Oh,
Or
Well,
something.
that's being generous.
Jesus Christ.
Last time I saw it was $350 for
Yeah,
one.
something
yeah.
like that. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
Mikey and Nicky, Criterion,
Criterion.
got you covered. A New Leaf has a very beautiful, I believe it was Olive Films put that one out.
Yes,
I have
that
a
one's
copy,
very nice.
copy of that as well. But
They
yeah,
have a regular Blu-ray for that one too, just like regular standard one as well. You can get that for like $15 right now on Amazon.
But yeah, Heartbreak Kid, here we are, lost in limbo. And then also when it's kind of difficult to search for it because any searching is kind of usurped by the 2007 version, which I feel like is what most people think of when you say that title. It's that Ben Stiller comedy where he meets and marries an annoying woman. And that was, I haven't seen it. Have you guys seen the Fairly version?
I've seen it, and I
I've seen it multiple
rewatched
times,
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, for this
I
episode.
rewatched it for this as well.
Yeah.
I don't seen it. I haven't seen it, but from what I gather, they really just only play up how gross and obnoxious she is, as the Fairleys would.
Well, Jay, do you
I
want
couldn't even
you want to
tell
do
you
it
who
right
the
now, Jay? Like
third
we
lead
can.
is. Go ahead.
I mean, yeah,
can do
we
it.
can talk the remake, which is
a
just
calamity.
Why don't we save it? We're getting ahead of
All right,
ourselves.
we'll save
We're
it.
getting- yeah.
We'll save that.
Jake
till the end,
runs
'cause it
the
doesn't
show,
deserve its whole-
and so
Yeah.
we're gonna do whatever we do around here. We're getting off on Tangent City already. This is what happens when we have good friends on the podcast. Jake, I'm gonna actually just get us back on track if that's okay,
Sure.
and ask you about Elaine May. I know we talked about the fact that you can't find the majority of her movies, but.
Yeah.
A very important filmmaker, especially after our last series talking about Mike Nichols, their collaboration, so iconic, both on the stage and on the screen. But her filmography specifically, and her as a writer and director, we asked you to come on this one. Obviously, you said yes. Put up your hand, and you're here for the Heartbreak Kid. But her other films, what do you like about Elaine May? What about her stands out to you as a filmmaker?
Yeah. Great question. Well, I discovered many years ago. I just finally, I'd heard so much about her that that people seem to like, and I'm like, well, I should, it's only 4 films. I should check these out, and just fell in love with her completely from the bat. I think, even though we're talking the Heartbreak Kid, I think A New Leaf might be my personal favorite, but this one is a really very much a close second. But just the way that, her sense of humor in the first 2 films she has is just like pitch perfect and so on point. And what I love about this film in particular is Charles Grodin. He gives just one of the funniest performances in anything I've ever seen him in. And then I moved on to Mikey and Nicky. And like I love that film for other reasons. It actually isn't really funny at all, but it just is like a dark, deep existential anguish of a film between these two friends where one has to betray the other, I thought, oh, this is just really heavy, great stuff. And then Ishtar, I saw and enjoyed it when I watched it for the first time. I've actually seen it a couple times since. I think, if cancel culture, put Elaine May in director's jail, that's, it's not that bad of a film to go out on. I think, it has a lot of charm in it. But yeah, ultimately, I think she's just a very, very sharp and hilarious filmmaker, and her movies are just so charming and they work for me in any fashion. So I don't know. I think, just speaking broadly, I love Elaine May and really wish she has made more films. But it's sad that that's the state of the world we live in, is that she could not.
And she's kind of still now stuck in sort of
Four
because
movies.
of four movies. She's got a fifth. Somebody wants to help her ghost direct.
I saw she can't, something about like they can't just secure the budget for it. I mean, come on, who's
The insurance
have
Between the budget and the insurance, it's sort of a Robert Altman Prairie Home Companion situation. So I don't know. Somebody step in.
Like a
Who can we get?
like a freaking what is it? His last film with you got Del Toro,
Kane
Mutiny. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of those too.
Somebody take a couple months to help Elaine make a movie. I mean, you got
Who
Sebastian
should do it?
Stan.
Sofia Coppola, do it.
I think.
Why not?
I mean, sure. Why not? I mean, who's the director of I Saw the TV Glow?
Jane
Schoenbrun?
Schoenbrun.
Yeah, they volunteered, on Twitter last year to do it when the news broke. So let them do it. Shit, and let anybody do it. Let get. You know who should do it? Emma Segelman, who did Bottoms and Shiva Baby. That seems like in the right sort of mindset for that. You know what I mean? Rachel,
It's not exactly Paul Thomas Anderson as far as.
Well, I know, but it's a.
But
okay,
I get it.
You know what I'm trying
I'm
to
saying
say.
at the time. No, I'm sure. I mean, let Elaine May make another movie for God's sake. Like, I want it so bad.
Sophia Coppola's not a bad one. Fuck, tell Greta to take a month off of making fucking Narnia movies.
That's
and
who
help
could
her
get
out.
it done if she really wanted to. Is
Really,
Greta
it could.
being like, I got you.
Noah Baumbach. How about that? Like, Noah's not doing anything. I mean, well, he's
Martin
got his movie
Scorsese. What are you doing, man?
Marty's got like a ton of projects that he's trying to line
He's
up.
got 7 movies that are apparently going to come out in the next 5 years. So.
What do you, Jay? I haven't asked you this, but it's actually, this is a great segue because we're clearly just starting off on a right foot here. But Jake's here
The
too.
Rock movie.
The Rock movie. Like, what the fuck?
I am beyond all in. Like,
really?
I have put my mortgage on wanting that movie to be made. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which movie is this?
The Rock plays basically like the Tony Soprano of Hawaii, basically. Is that what the movie is?
Yeah, and it's with Leo and Emily Blunt.
It sounds amazing.
Sounds like Jungle
Remember
Cruise
when we
meets
all
The
were
Departed.
like so excited about The Rock like 10 years ago?
Remember when he made like interesting decisions. He doesn't do that shit.
Well, I know, I'm saying, but this is him going back to that. He started making every movie a Rock movie, and I would love to see him give himself over to a director again.
Yeah. I agree. He's great in Southland Tales. You mentioned John Cena, and I feel like Cena's kind of going down that path as well, where a lot of the stuff he's doing has to be about him. He's not as much as just the egocentric, I need to be the coolest guy, but I do feel like Cena is getting a little obnoxious with all the stuff that's coming out. For me, the best wrestler turned actor currently is Batista.
Yeah, Dave
He's
Bautista
killing it because he has good taste.
Yeah, he's like in Dune and Blade Runner, and he's in a Bond movie. Yeah. M. Night?
He's fantastic in Knock at the Cabin. But The Rock, I don't know if he's too far gone just to give himself over and have a good performance again. But I feel like if he truly, because he's a charismatic guy, people generally do love him. I think his movies are dog shit, but if The Rock gave himself to Scorsese and let him turn in a performance akin to something that he does in like Southland Tales, I think we could see not necessarily a comeback, but say, oh, hey, here's actually something interesting he's been in for once in the last 15 years. But
it could be like his Sandler.
Well, he's got the Safdie.
He's got the Safdie thing coming out.
Sandler, he's got the Safdie thing coming up, which I'm sure is where Scorsese was like, "I'd like to work with this guy." Because
I'm assuming
Scorsese produced the Safdie movie.
Yeah,
I don't know for sure.
didn't he like executive produce Uncut Gems?
No,
So
no,
like,
he's been like their number one advocate.
yeah,
So I'm
Hmm.
assuming he was on set at some point, maybe for the Safdie rock movie, and maybe that's when they
I
kind of
think that
sparked that. But
I think that it would be good for Dwayne Johnson. Let's call him that instead of just The Rock.
I think he's a super talented guy.
I think so.
He
I
just
just
has
think that
been coasting,
no, I think that when you make
brand managing
I
for
think when you make a
10 or
certain
15
movie,
years.
like I think Sandler's a perfect comp. You make a certain movie for a certain amount of time, it makes you a crap ton of money. You're more of a
You
businessman.
can
You
have
keep
your
going
Happy
back,
Madison, and every now and then you make your Uncut Gems.
or you make your Punch Drunk Love, or
Yeah.
you make movies with Noah Baumbach. Like Sandler's got another movie with Baumbach and Clooney coming out this year. Well, that'll be very interesting for him to see him in.
Clooney is an interesting wrinkle there.
God, yeah, it really is, isn't it?
You get some
But
Remember
wolves.
what was The Wolves? I was about to say The Wolves.
God, both
That
of
was
you,
one of the worst
yeah.
movies I saw last year. Just
It's
absolutely terrible.
pretty bad, yeah.
I just thought it was just like them on
Like,
cruise control. Like it's so nothing. Like I haven't
yeah,
even thought about that movie. And then they canceled the
I just
sequel and
think,
everything.
who is that? That's John Watts, right?
that
That
was
guy
for
doesn't
sure.
exist.
Hack City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a picture of John Watts? Have you seen
I
him
mean,
at premieres?
he
You seen
looks like
set
the like
photos?
generic character, create a
No,
character
he
in
doesn't exist.
Skyrim
John
or
Watts
something.
is
Yeah.
AI. I'm thinking that that's what the strikes were all about. Is they were trying to find
I
the
mean, the thing
fact
is,
that John Watts is
cop
an
car
AI
is
game
like
machine.
a thing. Like you see cop car and you're like, okay, this is something. I don't think
I
that
think
movie's
I
that
think
good, but you're like, this is a guy with ideas,
I
and
think
then
a
he just got
machine created
swallowed
Cop
up.
Car. I don't think Cop Cars was
I don't
made by
know.
a human being.
I don't
I
know.
think that was made by a
Can we talk
machine.
about like a great movie?
Like the Heartbreak Kid,
Yeah.
1972.
No, I don't think we were going to do that today.
Okay,
No, I'm just
let's
kidding.
talk about Red One, The
Yeah.
Rock's most recent film. No,
um, or Electric State. We were talking about that before we logged
we
on as
were.
well too.
I still got
I
to check
mean,
it out. Can't wait.
if we're talking about, how Elaine May can't even afford to get the insurance for a production, and yet Electric State can launder $320 million of
I mean,
slop.
truly, there is crime involved
Were they laundering the
in the
money
back
like
rooms of that
to live
movie.
and die in LA, like, fucking Defoe style, where they're just like, like, oh, this Electric State money, we're gonna make it last forever. Because
I, I,
it
yeah,
is funny to like see them sort of. I know that this is all online today and whatnot, but it is funny to see the Russos like turning a 180 after Endgame and then being like, we could do whatever we want at Netflix. To be like, actually, Netflix is kind of a problem, and studio movies are actually the way to go, and we should have never made these, and we made a terrible mistake.
The Netflix arc is bizarre. They went from true like Roma to Electric State.
Well, I
That's
mean,
where their money went.
well, they have.
yeah,
I mean, they do make movies still that are in the awards game. Just some people. I mean, obviously, like people don't like some of them.
Amelia Perez, I guess.
There you
But
go.
that was
Yeah.
acquired, right?
Well, that was Jake's favorite movie of the year. So, Jake, you want to speak on
yeah.
Amelia Perez?
I think every generation gets the Mrs. Doubtfire deserves, and this one was
Hello.
La Senora Doubtfire, as I call it. Is
Help is on the
very
way,
good.
dear.
Do you think that Carlos Sofia Gascon can do Flubber?
Oh man, I mean, where do I line up to go to the theater? That sounds like a scream. Can
She's
you
our
imagine?
guest for the Mikey and Nicky episode.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, I can't wait to.
Yeah.
Man, Robin Williams. Thank God he was.
Can you imagine her flying around with that goofy green ball of goo? That sounds like a hit movie.
I kind of want
Absolute
to.
riot.
I kind of want to see it, but you know what is an absolute riot? Is Elaine May's The Heartbreak Kid from 1972.
Great work, Ryan. We got there.
You're welcome, buddy. And I'm super excited to talk about this movie. Jake, you came on here for yet another banger. You chose this one, buddy. And I'm curious about your thoughts on The Heartbreak Kid from Elaine May.
Yeah. One of the great comedies of all time. This tied with A New Leaf, probably two of the funniest movies I've ever seen. But yeah, this one is one of the rare comedies also that gets funnier every time I watch it, just because I pick up on something new. But it's just such a perfect confluence of Grodin's performance, May's writing, and I think the way she frames a lot of her shots is she's a very underrated filmmaker in that regard. And is just also just an expert at calibrating the I hate to say like the word cringe, but just like how Grodin, a lot of his scenes are just him kind of painfully twisting something for as long as they can possibly go until they almost reach their breaking point, but they don't. And yeah, just a very very shrewd and perfectly calibrated film. And it's like a warm blanket to me at this point. I just, I put it on, fall in love, and have a great time. What are your guys' thoughts on Heartbreak Kid?
J
It's
Dog.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite comedies of all time. This is my favorite Elaine May movie. I was, we talk about this movie being so difficult to see, especially in a better format. I was fortunate enough, I guess, to see a 16 millimeter print of this in a movie theater recently.
ooh.
And I say that as if 16 millimeter prints are some sort of like godsend, but it's a lot better than what you see on YouTube.
Mhm.
There was a film enthusiast found basically like a cable print, like this is what you would have seen on cable back in the day, and restored it. And the audio was a bit tinny, listening to it in the theater, but it was absolutely the best I've ever seen this movie look on a big screen. I was so excited to have been able to see that. That was about a year ago. First saw it 5 or 6 years ago, I think. I just think this movie it's a laugh riot, but a laugh riot that you won't really hear me cackling through, because in that Elaine May way, you don't really get the joke sometimes until 7 minutes or 7 seconds after it's told. Like it hits you. There's an aftershock of an Elaine May joke that I think is kind of her superpower. It is physically painful at times to watch this movie, but it is so funny. And Grodin is like one of my guys. Like anytime Grodin is in anything, Beethoven, I think is hilarious because Charles Grodin is great in it, which I think is sort of it's I guess this Midnight Run and Beethoven are the things that I think of when I think of Charles Grodin. And also he's great on talk shows because he's just so sarcastic. It's just like so made for me. And he is so good in this movie. And the only reason he was cast is because he failed trying to pick up Elaine May in person several years before. Elaine May was like, this is the exact doofus I need in my movie. And Grodin is in Mike Nichols' Catch 22. I think he's really good in that in a small role. So again, the Nichols May connection. Obviously, this is written by Neil Simon. When in the opening credits, this is Neil Simon's Heartbreak Kid, which is very telling and also I think false in many ways. But Neil Simon was one of the great Nichols collaborators. And also, speaking of Nichols again, we're kind of in this Nichols May mode here, Ryan. Is this not like the reverberation of The Graduate? Is that not kind of what this is in a lot of
I was
ways?
thinking about that a lot,
Yeah.
Jay. I was
It's
thinking about that a lot.
it's a phenomenal film. It I am so sucked in by this thing for its entire runtime. I think it's hilarious. I think there were like four scenes that we'll get to as we talk about the film, which are just like it's like, the the scene in Fast and Furious where they steal the safe out of the bank in Brazil. And it's like, yeah, that's what it's like when he says, there's no deceit in this cauliflower for me. I'm just like, it's just incredible. It is really thrilling watching how well written and well acted some of the scenes in this movie are. I think it's a masterpiece.
You mentioned
So, oh, go, Jake.
just gonna say you mentioned just with the type of comedy it is. I'm not watching this movie doubled over in clutching my sides in fits of laughter. I do laugh, but it's mostly just a movie I watch where I have a smile on my face from start to end.
Yeah.
It's the best way I can describe it is when he's laying all his cards out on the table to uh, Kelly's father, and she's just kind of watching the whole thing amused and with a smile on her face. That's how I feel watching the whole movie. It's just like, oh yeah, this is a good time. So yeah, sorry, Ryan, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's all right. You're
Yeah,
just laying your cards out on the table, just like
not
money.
a joker in the pack, my friend.
Exactly.
But it is sort of the same way that it is kind of the difference between the comedy stylings of Elaine May and the comedy stylings of the Farrellys who made the remake.
Well, we're going to talk about that.
That is the difference. Yes, but anyway, we'll get there. But
Yeah.
it's not the rolling on the floor.
No,
It's not like you're watching The Hangover, watching the Heartbreak Kid. That's not what they're striving for.
it's
But I appreciate that. I think it's one, more difficult to pull off, and two, something that I enjoy watching more.
to me as I was watching, and Jake doesn't know this, but this was a first time watch for me. I had never had the chance to see it.
You watched it
This
on
is-
that nice.
I watched it on that
YouTube
nice
480p.
YouTube. Yeah. I did, but nevertheless,
Basically, the only way to do it.
It's
owned
the only
by
way
a
to do it.
Pharmaceutical company.
yeah, which fucking sucks because it's like just give this movie to Criterion
I
or
just don't
somebody.
understand. Like you could make just an ounce of money just
Yeah.
by just saying here you go. Like there's no effort.
I mean, even
I
if
give
they
you
just
the
signed
rights
out,
to this
even
movie.
I'm
and they
just
don't
saying, like
care.
if they just signed it over to Arrow or Criterion or whoever, and gave
There
them
is a 35 millimeter print out there that exists. It just can't be distributed.
yeah, and I'm sure
It's weird.
I'm sure we would get a lovely Blu-ray or 4K with this thing if we had the chance. And I think we will.
Criterion has been just
Want-
chomping at the
they-
bit for this.
oh,
thing.
they-
Are you kidding me?
You know they
they're
want
just
it.
Dying.
You know they want it because they want to make a box set out of this shit like ASAP. But nevertheless, I watched this movie, and I had weirdly only had seen the remake in theaters because my dad had seen the original and took me to the remake. And truly, one of the first times ever I've seen my dad upset watching a movie, not understanding how terrible they could make this movie. And I never had the other film for the context, and now I do.
I've got some defenders of the movie on my Letterboxd mutuals, I will
And-
say,
and
which is
I don't-
bizarre to me because I think it's a travesty.
I wonder
but
how many of them have seen the original.
I know they have based
Okay.
on who these people are. Yeah,
Okay.
but it's just
That's cu-
it's
It just
weird.
makes you even more curious about them. But yeah, this is a pretty undeniable masterpiece. 5 out of 5 immediately. I kind of figured that out within the first 30 minutes of this movie that it you're right, Jay. This feels weirdly like the response to the call that was The Graduate. Not intentionally so, but just it feels like it.
It might have been kind of intentional too.
It might have been a little bit intentional, but I was watching this going, wow, this rules. Grown's amazing. This movie is not y'all's what you guys were saying. This isn't a traditional sort of comedy in that but it has these. It's just stressful. It's just stressful to watch, and it's
Painful.
it's painful, and it's hilarious to see how he's going to weasel his way out of the web that he is concocting, and watching a bullshit artist being able to bullshit their way through like every excuse that he made under the sun so that he can go be with her.
Semi-successfully. It's like
Yeah, and it's the whole bits about the army friend and the courthouse and how did you get the tan if you've been in a courthouse all day and all that stuff. I was just like, oh, this movie rules. And yeah, I mean, like, I think the scene of the movie, and Jay, it might be like, you're right, there's like 4 or 5 scenes in this movie that made me
let's
like,
do
absolutely
go scene of the movie. I think we got to go around
the
horn
scene
for
of the movie to me is the dinner sequence.
the seafood dinner.
Yeah, the pecan pie
Yeah.
bit is what I like to
It's
call it.
kind of undeniable.
I mean, him getting up and down, like him, like absolutely, like going from 180 to like, to like 20%, and like, just about a piece of pecan pie. Like when she starts crying, him briefly putting the napkin on her face, but then removing it. And it's like, it's just all the little
She
things that
thinks
he's
he's
doing.
dying.
Yeah, she thinks he's dying, but he's actually, no, I want a divorce. And May is such a good director because it's not just about the two of them. It's about all the faces that surround them. Just thinking about using this small restaurant, but yet what everybody's observing them, even though clearly it's just a two-person conversation that
But
then
that
blows
is a
up.
huge part of that scene is in so many movies, the people in the background are just like anonymous
Nothing.
people doing absolutely
But
nothing.
their perception
They're
matters.
so
Yeah.
reactive to what's going on in the actual scene in this movie. I found that very compelling.
I thought it was great. Grodin delivers an all-time performance. I agree with you, Jay. Like anytime he was
I
in
love that guy.
anytime
I
I
love him
miss
so
him
much.
terribly. I mean, like I watched Midnight Run a couple like 2 years ago for the first time, and I just thought him and De Niro were incredible. Obviously, like he's been around for in many other
Seems like he
films that
didn't
I've
really
seen
like
before.
acting. He was
It
on
didn't
60
seem like
Minutes
it.
for a while.
Yeah, it just seemed like a really interesting hard guy to deal with.
He was
Maybe.
just sort of to Johnny Carson what like Norm Macdonald was to Conan. It was just
Yeah.
like if I have a gap and I can bring somebody random on, I'll bring on Grodin to just be like a sarcastic grump for
Yeah.
30 or for 10 minutes or whatever.
But he's
Like,
perfect
I just
here.
think he's so funny.
And
When
to your point about the Graduate sort of comparison, Jay, like Benjamin Braddock in that film and his determination, it was really interesting to watch how determination like that can lead to a quote unquote happy ending, and yet it leaves
Well, The
him,
Graduate is not a happy ending,
no,
but
it's not. Like
it's
he
kind of
gets the
earned its own thing.
girl.
People say
You know what I
The
mean?
Graduate ending as sort
You
of
know what I
like
mean?
it's yeah.
No, I know, but like for him, it's like he gets the girl. He's driving around, and yes, the ending. It's like the final shot is not happy, but in the character's mind, he's got his happy ending. He's got the girl. He won, and there is we talked about that on that episode. There's a real sort of disturbing nature with that level of a persistence, and this movie is not afraid of showcasing that level of persistence to even a higher degree of being terrified, and even to the point still where like in The Graduate, they don't want Benjamin anywhere near their daughter. This is literally, and one of the best performances outside of Grodin is Eddie Albert, who just painstakingly, I don't like him. And I don't have to have an excuse not to like him. There's just and he knows there's something about this guy that's just full of bullshit. And the one of the funniest moments to me was when Grodin gets to the boat and he's taking off his clothes to get onto the boat, and Eddie Albert sees him and just starts undoing the rope
Yes.
and trying to get out of there. He's like, fuck,
So
fuck,
good.
fuck, 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 fuck. And he goes, and it's Grodin going, thanks for waiting for me. That made me howl. In then when you're gonna come eat lunch, and he's just like trying to get his daughter away from somebody like this because he knows that yes, this can be very impressionable on a young girl, but it also is like this is a con artist. This is someone that is not going to get. I'm going to have to deal. It almost felt like I'm going to have to deal with this man if he's married to my daughter for the rest of my life. He's never going to leave. And that there's not all the money in the world, all the money in the United
money
States,
in Minnesota,
and
all the
all
banks
money
in Minnesota.
It's so good. And so, yeah, we are batting masterpiece after masterpiece now in the
Yeah,
first
because
two
you
of this.
loved
I
A New
loved
Leaf,
A New
which was
Leaf.
also a first watch for you, right?
Also first
Yeah,
watch
did
for me.
you-
Oh man,
Which
This
one do you like
is-
more? Right,
Oh, that's tough. I think that they're both great.
they are both great. I liked A
Um,
New Leaf. I'd seen that one before. I liked it more. That was the second
It's
watch
too
for me.
fresh
This
for me
one
to say
is
where.
like
Well, by the time we get to 2
powering.
weeks when we do the power rankings and everything, I will make a decision by then. But it's pretty neck and neck. I might say A New Leaf.
I mean,
But
that's fine. It's great.
but this is so good. Like
They're both also very different
Yeah,
films
they
too.
are.
And I get a lot of joy out of A New Leaf of Walter Matthau just walking around saying, "I'm poor," and the carbon on the valves bit. And but yeah, this everything is just so perfectly calibrated and to maximum discomfort. And then like you said, with Eddie Albert frantically untying the boat to take off without him joining, and he's plays such a perfectly clueless guy, like, oh yeah, thanks for waiting for me. But there's a lot of great little lines like that like even in the little opening montage of him courting Lila, we see them eating at a restaurant, and she's like laughing uproariously, and we're thinking it's like one of his jokes, but she says, "Pizza, how did you know?" That's like how the film starts. Like everyone likes pizza. I don't know, it's just a funny little character bits in here that really sing once you think back on them. But yeah, Grodin, God, he's so good. We've mentioned Midnight Run, and he does a great thing he in this movie that he also does in Midnight Run, where he kind of puts on this detective character when he goes and visits Kelly at college and talks to her boyfriend and his
Oh
friends,
yeah.
and just when he just gets into that, that's that very stern, straight face. Can I see that cigarette? And and he's like interrogating them and showing them a fake badge or whatever he has in his wallet. He's just so great in all these little moments. It's interesting that he didn't want to be an actor, but I guess he's just was doomed to fall into doing something he was good at.
No, and I mean like that's
I forgot about him in
literally
Clifford too. God, he's
yeah,
so good in
so good in
Clifford.
Clifford.
He's
Oh my
the
God.
reason why Clifford is great. I mean,
Yeah.
Short's doing a lot of amazing things, but Grodin is why Clifford works as well as it
Agreed.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's great.
Yeah.
But I mean, you talk about that scene there at the college and everything. And I mean, again, Jay, to your point, it very much mirrors when Benjamin goes and follows her to the college as well too. Literally buys an apartment. He is divorced now, and Lenny has given all of his money, like $6,000 to her, the car, everything. He's put all of this
All he wants is his $900 of savings bonds.
exactly, which is so funny. And but he's got everything, all what he has there is and when he shows up to the
I
front
don't want to be
door,
a winner in this.
yeah. When he shows up to the front door, just Eddie Albert be like, "You got to be kidding me! He wasn't lying." And and the whole like the when he pulls him into the drawing room and he's just like, "I was listening to you." You know what I mean? And like
I mean,
about
the dinner scene is up there with
I
the
never heard the
seafood
biggest
restaurant scene.
crock of bullshit I've ever. You
There's
know what I
no
mean? It's so true because it's just like, how much of this are we going to have to put up with? What amount of check? And most people like that could be able to do it, but I mean, damn it, if you got determination, you can pretty much do anything. But it's as simple as yeah, you might have made a mistake or realized. Like, I think it's really interesting too because the movie, because this is sort of the I don't think the movie is nearly as mean spirited as the remake. I think that like genuinely this movie is fast, and May and Simon are
I don't know what you
fascinated.
mean by mean
Oh,
spirited.
I think
It's
that
not
movie's.
a.
I don't think that this movie's mean spirited. That movie is mean
There's
spirited
not a
and how they handle.
likable character in this movie.
No, there's
Not a
not. But
one.
I don't think that this is like that movie. The remake is mean spirited to the female characters in there, especially like what Lila is they make her the devil in the remake.
I actually what I think doesn't work about the new movie is that it's softer than the original and very clearly has this like, oh well, he probably should be with that girl because she's so nice.
Exactly. And I think that, like Kelly in this movie, there is something like the idea of like someone flirting with you. And then, okay, you want to see that flirtation all the way to its end game. Well, clearly, like it might have just been a game to her, but then she is impressed and still semi attracted to him enough to let it continue in Minnesota outside of Miami and let it go all the way to its conclusion by the end of the film. But not, I don't necessarily know if over time, just like in The Graduate, if this is the right decision for either one of these two characters. And she's probably going to come to that realization probably more than him, because he's a basket
Absolutely
full
is
of
not, considering
delusion.
the last line of the movie is I used to be 10.
Yeah, I used to be 10. He's so immature, but it's just like, but I just feel like he'll find another way to bullshit away along on his journey, with, and I think though that if not before Eddie Albert kills him, because I do think that that's in his future.
I don't know.
Yeah,
He walked her down the aisle.
he did.
No.
I don't think he really wanted to, Jay. Like, I think like he,
Yeah.
and which is really interesting, because it's like that ending with the wedding does happen, but we see that clearly, like, there is friction in everything here, and yet uh he goes back to what he said to him at dinner. You will never find someone more determined. You know what I mean? That persistence is there all the way. And that's kind of the biggest joke, is that he does get all the way to there, but like, again, at what cost, right? Because he's sitting there at the end and it's like, okay, I got it. Be careful what you wish for, because you have this now in your possession. You have the dream girl that you gave everything up for, literally. And now what are you going to do? And he's talking to two 10-year-olds at the end. He's not talking to adults. And that's what's so funny. It's just like,
There's a lot of
left
money in
shambles.
tear gas.
That's yeah. That
So
that
good.
whole him just kind of being out of his league, talking to like the actual adults of Kelly's family, and then him sitting on the couch at the end. This just like strikes me as this poor guy's just never gonna be happy.
No.
Like no matter what he does,
Yeah.
he's gonna think he finds something better than what he currently has. He's gonna lose everything to get it, and then thinks that, oh, that's gonna solve all of his problems, and then he can just live life peacefully. But no, he's just gonna be a miserable sad sack of shit on a couch for the rest of his life, seemingly the rest of his life.
Just the
You know,
restlessness of a
for the next
generation.
next 40 to 50 years. But yeah, it's such a perfect ending. I mean, just the whole thing is just so great, and like what is also like, I can't keep bringing up the remake because I haven't seen it, but one thing that I feel like this movie does well is that it's how it kind of, the discomfort just grows organically. Like
Yeah.
I feel like in the remake there's probably just like an on switch where Malin Ackerman just like immediately on a dime is like obnoxious, and
Yes.
here
That's so broadly
Yes.
told.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
That's the biggest problem.
Yeah, here it's after their courtship, which we never really know how long they're dating before they get married. Presumably not that long. I don't know, a couple months or so,
Mhm.
whatever. It doesn't matter. But yeah, just
It's just because he wants to get laid.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the whole, like, you could say the whole thing's about don't marry the first woman you meet in a bar just because you want to have sex. But yeah, no, just how everything just sort of kind of cracks and crumbles under this marriage. And I think what's like really especially damning is after the first night they sleep together and it's the next morning and he's sitting on the other side of the room just like watching her, from a distance, and
Yeah.
like that's like gonna be his life for
Like
a
studying
while.
this. Yeah.
It's like that's like, so I don't know. That's kind of like harrowing to me, that moment. But
then if you want to talk about the difference between the original movie and the remake, that same shot happens, but it's Ben Stiller like in the fetal position on top of a chair, like rocking back and forth. That's the
Yeah.
difference between the movies.
I mean,
Yeah,
like,
sort of epitomized.
well, like, I do think that there are similarities, because, like, obviously, the Marlon Ackerman character is the Lila character here, and I think that what Lila's doing is not as villainous as it is portrayed in the remake, because I do believe that they make her to be like, yes, he made a mistake, but she is like this monster incarnate.
Oh, the
Like,
Malin Ackerman character, the thing about that character is it's just like, well, obviously she's a psychopath.
Yeah,
Like,
she's a psychopath.
Whereas
This
Jeannie
woman's-
Berlin is just like this innocent, kind of naive.
Yeah, which makes I think
Right.
Grodin's actions, like, Sure, he married a woman that like wants to
Oh, he
like
seems like an
he's an
asshole.
asshole.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't seem like a bad person. Sure, she's a little bit quirky, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she eats an egg salad sandwich, you know what I mean? Like
A little
weirdly, you know what
loud.
I mean? You know what I mean? Like
I'm okay. That's wild because she orders double egg salad on toast. That's
yeah.
gonna be a mess, however you
Yeah, so
slice
like
it.
you're gonna judge her for that? It's like she ordered double egg salad. If anything, you could have just been like, well,
Although I will
one
say,
layer of egg salad wasn't enough. You know
first
what I mean?
date, girl orders a double egg salad on toast. That's a red flag.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I mean,
it's
that's
not a
no good.
first date. They're
I
married.
know.
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like you would
That's
have
that's
had
their
time by
first.
then.
That's the first pit stop on the road trip from New York to Miami Beach.
Well, then
But yeah.
also but this is just this whole premise of this movie is clear. If
Mhm.
before you marry the person you're going to be with, go on a fucking trip with them. Go to a restaurant with
Oh, you
them.
got to have a test run.
You got to have some test runs.
I mean,
If you don't do this,
the whole
then you're
conceit of the movie is epitomized in that phenomenal line when he's talking to his lawyer, where he says, "I'm going to the Midwest," and he says, "What's in the Midwest?" I made a great girl on my honey.
no, it's so true. But like the scenes in the diner, the scene with him in the car, and they run out of things to talk about. They run out of songs to sing, and they start beginning on. She starts getting on his nerves, and by the way, the sunburn in this one as well too, Jay. Like this one obviously uses a plot device, warned against each other. Very funny him waiting on her to like go on, as she's fixing her hair in the same position like over and over again. Very funny. We've all experienced that. I've showed up late many times because, of my wife and appearances and the other way back around as well too, probably, for second guessing. So him wanting to go to the pool is that. But in the remake, like, man, that sunburn is used as like a weapon, it feels like. And
Yeah, I
uh,
mean, again, we don't need to like totally turn this into a remake podcast, but um,
that
yes,
movie, I think that movie literally hates this movie. I don't think that this movie, I think that this is also a completely
maybe in
different movie.
practice,
Yeah.
obviously it didn't, and obviously, honestly, the fact that it got made being called The Heartbreak Kid as a movie that nobody could watch when that movie was made is bizarre to me, but it that movie stinks.
It's
But this
terrible.
movie does not stink. The
No,
original
this is
does
rules.
not. And I also think
Yeah.
we should mention, I think it does also show a real growth um for Elaine May as a filmmaker.
As a
I think there
director,
are
yeah.
more deliberate choices in this movie, especially with a lot of the close-ups. There are a lot of longer takes in this movie, which speak
Mhm.
to sort of the Elaine May, improv style where Neil Simon apparently was like not super into the direction this movie went. I think most notoriously, he kept saying during the casting process, Lila can't be this ugly, not knowing that Jeannie Berlin was Elaine May's daughter during the casting process.
Oh wow.
Um but I do think that is a huge part of it too. I do feel like this is a very culturally I think the cultural dynamic of the movie is incredibly important. The Jewishness of the movie I think is incredibly important, down to the fact that they're going to Miami, which has this enormous Jewish community. I think there were kind of some folks who really took offense to this idea of, oh, well, obviously they viewed it as, well, obviously you choose Sybil Shepherd, this, gorgeous traditional American blonde, over the extremely Jewish Jeannie Berlin character. But I think those archetypes are effective and good shorthand kind of for what this movie is saying about the shallowness
Yeah.
um, of Grodin's character. I think it's just a really easy way to lay things out. Whereas in the remake, again, to go back to the remake, which I said we're not going to do anymore, but the one of the problems with the remake is it's like, I mean, I don't really know what you're saying by having these, because both women are like so traditionally gorgeous,
Attractive. Yeah.
they have to make such extreme kind of personality choices to them, where it's like so obviously one is more desirable than the other, on a like where one is just an absolute absolutely psychotic. Whereas in this movie, it's like I can understand the worst person I know just making this choice purely by having Sybil Shepherd come into his line of sight like Indiana Jones at the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like that, I
Oh yeah.
understand that, and I've seen it many times before.
Yeah, I mean, she's just straight up shot like a golden goddess, and
Yeah.
also, and not that she's obviously very very striking and beautiful in that moment, but she also like seems to possess a bit of like wit and charm herself, where she's
Hmm.
teasing him about being in the spot. And that's actually just something she does throughout the whole trip, and that's um you know that's in her nature just to keep kind of teasing this guy, and but he really is smitten with that, and then realizes, oh, I've not only have I made a mistake, but I found the love of my life, and then that just begins the next quest to pursue this woman, because in the beginning he's genuinely charmed by Jeannie Berlin. Like they seem to have a nice little, you know good little rapport back and forth when they meet in the bar, and things turn well, and then just but he doesn't, he didn't really take her out. They seem to have confined themselves mostly to the city. And then now that he's been out and about with her, he realizes, oh, this is a mistake. And oh, wait, here's the next best thing. And then so yeah, it's just all about trying to pursue Sybil Shepherd. And then it's just this endless chain of of ruining his life. But yeah, no, it's all great.
No, but I mean, like, to your point, Jay, about identity and Jewish identity
Mm.
and everything too. I think that there's those underlines too of what we in at society at the time had for perception of what from different class systems, different places in the world. Her father, Sybil Shepherd's father in the film, he just keeps saying about Lenny that he knows guys like this. He's been around characters like this and these broad generalizations that because he had in the possession of his daughter, and talking about like he's going to give her off like a prize stallion essentially, and back then in this time, I remember my father telling me stories about like there was a Jewish girl in the neighborhood that he was dating, and her parents did not like the fact that she was dating him, and my grandparents who were Catholic did not like that as well. And that was definitely something in the 70s, still up to that point, and in the 60s. And so I think that plays out kind of here too. And I think also with her, I think he's drawn to the fact that she's when he that moment in the water where he's picking her up and they're playing with each other there in the water. And then he just like confesses to her immediately. He's like, I'm married. And she's basically like, so? Like, it throws his world upside down of like, wait a minute.
Complicates things, this being our honeymoon.
It complicates that for sure. But it's also like, wait a minute. This girl is like so cool that like if she was my wife and I got to hang out with this woman, she wouldn't mind. Like it's that kind of mindset too of like everything's that he's known is kind of opened up, and she does become this sort of this girl that he's like I am drawn to you like a moth to a flame. And meanwhile I've got sunburn back in my room, and I could care less at this point because I'm so fascinated by this. And that scene in the bar where she's playing him perfectly, and he just can't help but be drawn in more and more, which leads to I think another great scene that we haven't mentioned, but that scene at sort of like at the club there with the singer playing in the background, and
just staring at the dad,
and he's like, isn't this act great? You know what I mean? Just completely oblivious to this as well. They're like, oh yeah, they're wonderful, aren't they? Oh my God, I was just in stitches. But it's
him winning
so
over
awkward.
the mom is so funny.
So funny.
Yeah.
Which clearly he read the newspaper that day, brought that anecdote to the table, and like that he knew that she would probably have.
And then how do you get the
Put it up
dad
on
to
the-
submit? You win over the mom.
Exactly.
Right? I mean,
that's what you're
the
supposed to do.
war.
It's so old
Yeah.
school. It's so smart too. Like, it's he again relentless, but in a way that's just like I don't know, you kind of end up rooting for him, even though he's a terrible guy. You're just kind of like, God, I kind of want to see him go all the way with
I
this.
don't know that I
You know what I
ever
mean? Like
root
I
for
was
him.
sitting there, I'm
He's
just
one
like,
of the worst people ever
he
put on
he is, but
screen.
I'm just like, man, just keep going. Like I got to see how
He's
this
a
is going to
grinder.
be.
He's a
You know what I mean?
grinder,
yeah.
man.
Like,
There's definitely something inherently compelling about a person going down just such a self-destructive path. But you want to see him burn down. You want it to keep going. I'm with you, Ryan. He's like, yeah, come, let's see this through to its natural end. Let's see him get killed by the father for all I
yeah,
care. You know,
I
it's
don't care. Like I just want to see this conclusion wrap up so perfectly because that's the great thing about Elaine May too. Within A New Leaf in this, she finding ways for this character in her movies to be able to just spin these yarns and just sort of effortlessly in very hilarious ways find these conclusions that leave these people in absolute shambles, and I love that. But then, I mean, also the other thing that I love so much about this movie when I was watching, and this is why I genuinely love old movies as opposed to new movies, and why I think a lot of filmmakers have been making, auteur filmmakers make movies about the past rather than the present, is the way he's lying in this movie. There's no goddamn way in a modern technology he would be able to come up with this without her just Googling to see if he was complete full of shit.
yeah.
And that's what's so great about her just buying into it. It's like she is lit. That room is literally her world, and that hotel. So he's not only doing a terrible thing on the outside of this room, he's doing a terrible thing on the inside, locking her in essentially. And and her reward is this seafood dinner that then he destroys her the minute she gets out even further. It is, yes, Jake, he is beyond destructive and a terrible human being. There's no question about that. He's a very selfish guy. But I can't help but like want to see the path of destruction that he's going to lay on me just because it's so fucking funny, you know?
I love a lot of the lies that he's, telling her, hers Lila in the hotel room as well. Like, yeah, oh, all Florida courts open at 7 a.m. or
It's
oh,
the weather is
The
so
weather.
unpredictable.
the
They
weather.
they stay open longer.
You won't believe he went to sign an affidavit and keeled over. I gotta go give $100 to his wife and kids. Please, will you grant me that? And just
No,
just
you
like
don't
How
want
could
to
I
go in
call
that
you? I
na-
was pinned in a '58 Chevy.
let me get the state trooper on the line. He'll, like making her out the bad guy for not
Yeah.
believing his story. And
You
but
can't go into a neighborhood like that. Even I don't want to go, and I have to give him the money. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it's, oh my god, it's so good. He's so good in this movie, and she's just like she, she's again she's trapped, but then
Yeah.
he's also like scolding her and also kind of happy that she has the sunburn. I think a little bit too, and the way in which he's like getting so manically dressed in the morning and to like run down. It's like a kid at Christmas. And
Mhm.
she's just like, why are you so excited, like rushing out of here and
Because
everything?
what you need right now more than anything is time
Yeah.
and cream.
and,
Oh my God.
and cream.
When he returns and she's just covered in the cream, A, that's a funny image, but then B,
Yeah.
her saying, I put cream on, doubly funny. Just perfect master of the obvious. It's uh but the standout scene for me is when I alluded to it earlier, but it's when he finally reveals that he's married to Eddie Albert and the family. The way it's framed, we have in the foreground both sides, Grodin versus Albert. Background, it's basically a four shot, if you can imagine it. In the background, it's the mother and Sybil Shepherd sitting together. The mother has just she's got an open jawed smile on her face that just slowly sinks into despair. Like you can put it on a timeline and like just kind of fast forward through it and just watch chart her face. And then Eddie Albert, the way his face also switches just like from a kindly smile to like this incandescent rage on his face as Grodin is revealing everything. And then when he finally like explodes at him and Grodin says, wow, that is a very honest answer.
Not
Like
if they
that.
tied a horse and pulled me 40 miles by my
Yes.
tongue. Well, I
Yes.
respect your frankness. You know, I mean, like
Yes.
that was when I lost it. Oh my God, it was
That,
so
yeah.
good.
That and there's no deceit in the cauliflower are like the two
Agreed.
huge highlights
Yeah.
for me. Because that's like, if that's him just like being such a bullshit artist. He wants to compliment the dinner, but it just seems like a very ordinary dinner. But it's like these are the most honest mashed potatoes I've ever had. It's like there's no insincerity in these potatoes. There's no lying in the beef.
Even the like maid like looks over at him in that moment like this. What are you talking? What are you doing?
What the fuck are you talking about, dude? Yeah, no, it's so great.
You might have noticed I was pretty quiet during dinner. I was listening and I was very impressed. It was the biggest load of horse shit I've ever heard in my entire life.
No, but Jake, back to like, yes, the foreshot there. If you look at the mother, like I think you mentioned this earlier, but if you look at the mother, yeah, like she's gone from pretty amused by this guy and the character and like not having a problem to being like completely horrified. Obviously, Eddie Albert's just like, I want to kill this man. And you got Sybil Shepherd over there on the right or back right of that frame, just like smiling, absolutely fucking lovingness. She is very curious as well as to how he's gonna get. Honestly, she's like, I'm willing. It weirdly feels like she is saying, I'm willing to give myself to you if you can find a goddamn way on how to get this. I'm kind of amused by it as well, which kind of makes her just as kind of crazy and sick as he is. And yet she's willing and content when she goes back to school to just be like, no, I got a boyfriend, I got a life in here. But his persistence just continues and continues to be amusement to her, to the point where she fully gives in to him by the end. And it is funny that he's not like holding her in his arms at their wedding by the end and embracing and like, got to get to our honeymoon and everything, that he's just like, his soul he got his prize, but at the cost of soul sucking him all the way through. My wife had a great observation watching it, which was, how the hell did he get any of his family to come to that second wedding? That was really what she said, like in 1971, 72, no way they would have come for a second thing in less than 6 months. Like that's there's just no way that would have happened, So that was just a really funny observation that she had along the way.
Well, we don't see many people that are in his life over the course of the movie.
Do you think that was all just a chapel of her people on Minnesotans? Right?
I mean, aren't both weddings also just kind of like in a very small room? Like
very small. The first one's like in a house.
Yeah, but this one's in a chapel. The second one's in like a full chapel. Yeah.
Probably that might be more of her side of the family, and also because he was willing to give him $25,000. An obscene amount of money,
which would have been
1972.
It would be the equivalent now of $189,000.
Okay,
pretty good. 200 grand.
Yeah,
200 grand. Okay, I'd consider that, but
I would. Listen, she was beautiful, but 200 grand goes a long way. I'd be like, you know what, sir? All right,
Sybil Shepherd looks unbelievable.
Jay, important person.
I mean, very important person. I mean, this is up where with like the best somebody has looked in a movie.
Well, so if you say if the modern version is Gosling, who's the Sybil Shepherd nowadays?
Well, the thing is, Gosling is not like a Rodin composite.
He would have to be like Gosling via Lars and the Real Girl. Like
he would have to do his like ugly me up, nice guys thing.
Yeah, that too.
Though who is the modern Sybil Shepherd? Like who's the ingenue, unattainable, innocent beauty?
You make it now. You make the joke all the time, but it actually might be the rare comp where Sydney Sweeney would be the person in this fucking role. Sadly,
maybe
the unattainable beauty, maybe for sure. Who plays his wife?
It's
Elaine May.
Elaine May. Oh, you just get Elaine May in her 90s to play this?
Yeah.
Get her to play the role played by her daughter 50 years.
Jeannie Berlin have any kids?
Makes perfect sense.
I can look it up.
Probably.
That is. I do remember seeing this movie for the first time and not knowing that Jeannie Berlin was Elaine May's daughter and being like, she looks exactly like Elaine May.
Sounds exactly like her too. Yeah. I was like, are you sure Elaine May's not doing like some dub voicing for this? Because my God. I don't think she has any children.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything either myself. But
she's still alive though. She could make a return.
we're talking about like, who would we cast? I genuinely don't think these types really exist anymore. Like I don't think we have a modern day Grodin. Because like my mind is just racing, and I'm thinking of like all the hot leading men that we have. Like there's Gosling, there's Chalamet, there's all these guys. Like none of them I think really bring that sort of that Grodin energy to that self-destructive straight man that he is. But
Honestly,
yeah, I don't
Stiller
know.
was kind of a good analog 15 years ago.
I'm telling you,
Yeah,
it was the right choice. Yeah. I don't know who it would be now. It's so
he
tough.
the
Because
casting of Stiller, he seems more like he's more kind of suited as just like a punching bag, kind of like Along Came Polly. Is that's like the Stiller I think of, where he's just regular guy, and
Yeah.
like this the like Charles Grodin is almost like the devil in this
yeah,
movie.
he's like
Like
Mephisto.
a,
Yeah.
you
ma-
need that.
a used car salesman, you know,
Yeah, you need
Yeah.
that sort of that huckster energy. But
but also
yeah,
like,
I
but could go through the world and be like, oh, that seems like an innocent guy. But like deep down, if you actually had a conversation and be like, wow, what a giant turd. Like it's like, there's just something about the way he carries himself through this, and everything. But I no, I thought not that I kept getting Keaton energy as well too, like early Mr. Mom, night shift sort of Keaton. If they would
mhm.
have made, like, there's no way they would have, made it like 10 years later again. But that was sort of the energy, and that might also just be people of the time, and how we've evolved with film and movie stars. Is that I don't know if you can find a comparable comp anymore. It's I mean, though Grodin's like 37 in this movie and looks like he's in his 20s,
He
and
does. He looks
Sybil Shepherd's
very young.
21 years
Yeah.
old when she's shooting this movie too.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say, who's got sort of this energy in 4 years? I could see you kind of doing a, post grad Heartbreak Kid. I think Gabriel LaBelle's got sort of
Oh,
the right
okay. You
energy
think
to him.
so?
I do.
Okay. Mr.
Kind of
Fable. Well, and
he's
you know that Janie Berlin played his grandmother in The
right.
Fablemans. So there's
Exactly.
your
And then
little
he's
there's your
doing
little
kind of
tie.
this thing in Snack Shack, you know.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
kind of
you
doing it
got
in
it.
Saturday Night, which
Yeah, he's trying to
I think he's
branch
good. I
out
think
like that.
Saturday Night is absolutely terrible, but
I
I
think
think he's good in
he's
it.
a nice guy. I did an interview with him last year. He was a nice guy. He seems like, seems like a decent fella, you know.
He
So
was in the American Gigolo TV series,
he played
apparently.
John
I
Barenthal.
didn't realize that
Mm.
Bernthal was the American Gigolo. Might have to
Uh,
check that out.
Jay,
Is that good?
no, I heard that show's terrible.
Oh,
Yeah.
But
It is.
I was at South by. I got to meet Barenthal.
look, I love Bernthal. That's like
He's
one of my guys.
he's such a nice guy. He was there, he's taking care of his daughter, but I got to talk to him just
He
for a
just kind of
minute.
seems like a guy
He's just
who
a good dude.
like
I
ended
just
up
told
being an actor.
all I told him was, I just want to see you in more things. He's like, I'm trying, brother. I'm trying. And then like Nolan gave him the day off.
He's got his
You know,
podcast where he's like interviewing people where you're like,
I,
eh,
you
what are we
know,
doing here, Johnny?
yeah, I don't
But
know.
I don't know.
But he's gonna be in.
I
He's
love
gonna be in the
Bernthal.
Odyssey. He's gonna be in the
Yeah,
Odyssey with.
everybody's.
All right.
I'm in the Odyssey.
Jake, you in the Odyssey? Did Nolan cash you yet?
No, but I'm gonna drive my Odyssey to the theater to go see it. Um,
Nice.
I don't know if I'm off base here, but just kind of thinking who could play the Lenny character now, and he's kind of like Gosling. He's younger, but my mind keeps going back to Glenn Powell in this role.
Too pretty.
He's
So
so
don't you
hot,
think?
though. He's so
He's
hot.
he's
You'd have
very
to.
hot right now, but I
He
don't.
could do it though. He's got that energy.
He could definitely. I feel like he could be definitely a charming
Ooh,
liar if he could really sink into being a piece of shit.
I got
I
you.
think he can
I,
put himself to it.
I actually got it. I
Go.
think you mentioned
Oh.
Powell. You worked with them. And it kind of is a little bit of a piece of shit. Miles Teller could knock it out of the park. Probably. He could probably
You
do
think
it.
so?
He used to do a lot of comedies a couple years ago for the Top Gun stuff. He's got a little
I
bit of a
don't know
swagger
about
to
that.
him.
I don't know that I have
He's
enough
a little,
belief in.
and he's got a punchable face. Like I think that there's a little bit about that. Like you smile and you can be like, oh, maybe I could see you with my daughter, but then I could also punch you
What
right in the
about
fucking face.
recent Oscar winner Kieran Culkin?
Oh man, no, now you want to just
Too
ruin
snarky?
too snarky,
Too
Yeah.
obvious? It almost feels too obvious.
too
Is what
obvious.
it feels
Yeah,
like.
it's too
He
on the
would just
nose.
he would really just kind of steamroll the film with
Yeah, you want to talk about a
with
movie
who
that
he
would
is.
end up hating itself already is probably that. You know what I
What about
mean?
Denzel?
Well, I think Denzel can pretty much do anything, right? You
Yeah.
know,
I mean, it's
Let's give it to him.
let's
Yeah.
give it to him. He doesn't have many projects left. Let him play a
it's
7-year-old chasing a 21-year-old around. I'm sure all the age gap assholes out there would like really just like go crazy about that. You know what I mean? So not that
Nah, I mean, it's you couldn't buy anyone hating Denzel, I think.
Daniel
He's
Day
just
Lewis.
Yeah, let him do it.
yeah, it's
Isn't that new Kendrick Lamar movie with the South Park guys? That's a Heartbreak Kid movie, right?
oh, is it?
I
No.
mean,
Did you see that? Did you see that? That's probably going to be going straight to streaming.
is it really?
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, that sucks.
the South Park guys, they got like 900 million from Paramount, just kind of,
They can do whatever they want.
beef up their streaming content.
I
I
know,
think it's
but there's
going straight to Paramount Plus. That is my understanding.
is that even
That's-
like
yeah.
is it even being made? Is it animated? Is it like
No, it's
live
done.
action?
I have no idea what it is, but it is.
Well,
it
I
is
mean, I've read the
in
tagline.
can.
I've
It
read
is like it is done. Like
I've
it is
told you
been
what it is
made.
about. It's going to
Yeah.
be it's about like a guy who works at a reenactment place and finds out that his girlfriend's family once owned his family via slavery.
Oh, is that what it's about?
Yes.
You might have told me that before, but I forgot.
Yeah, it sounds wild. Sounds exactly
Sounds
like from the
wild.
mind of those guys. And it'll be the only thing that kind of sucks because that kind of would. I mean, high concept comedies aren't getting made and put
The
in the
discourse
theaters
on that will be
anymore.
pretty normal, though. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I think so. I think we could have a pretty like honest conversation about that without it
Yeah,
getting
Twitter
crazy.
will be awesome for those.
Yeah, I mean, we can't even
Days.
have like a conversation about just like if Anora's good, let alone let alone a movie like that coming around. I kind of think back a little bit of like if a movie like this did exist, like what the discourse would have been, and then I stopped thinking about that and just enjoyed the fucking movie because I know that it would get ruined easily.
I'll tell you what, honestly, has an incredible amount of Heartbreak Kid DNA in it is like Seinfeld.
You think so?
Yeah,
Well, because
sure.
they're all awful people,
Yeah, it's just like a bunch of bad people feeling entitled to.
but you love them.
But you are kind of like, oh,
I can't help but love them.
Jerry. Oh, come on.
You know what I mean?
But
That's
it's
what-
Jerry.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying with, Jake and I were saying where it's just like, yeah, he's a fucking, bulldozer of
I mean, Lenny is more
cancer, but, like-
detestable, although maybe not actually. Those Seinfeld guys are. I mean, they did it in
watch
the
a
finale,
couple
right?
episodes of
But-
that and you're like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
The line that perfectly sums up Lenny for me is it's right after the note to scene in the cauliflower where he's making his final case to Eddie Albert and he says,
Yes.
"Hey, I was in the U.S. Army
yes.
3 years. I fought every day of those 3 years. Unfortunately, not overseas because of a minor back injury, but in our god honest army towns of America, I fought." That is him in a nutshell, and that's it's such a that line like almost made me howl with laughter. That was
But to Elaine May's credit as a director, she's not only got the camera on Grodin when she says that. When the second part of that line of dialogue is read, she flips the camera to Albert's reaction, and it again is like the foreshot at the restaurant where his face is like, "Oh, you're a veteran too, you son of a bitch." You know what I mean? Like
he's the worst kind of veteran in the U.S.
But it is like to May's like filmmaking wise, what is so effective is that every shot hangs on for 2 beats longer than you're used to seeing.
Yeah.
And so it does like the punchline is sort of because with May's stuff so often it's like, okay, I didn't realize that was a joke until one scene ago, right?
Mhm.
Or 5 seconds ago. And so this just sort of like it's hanging over your head, giving you the time to realize, oh my God, that was a brilliant joke. And also it's nailing in that humor and it's also nailing in that awkwardness. It is such an awkward movie to watch at times,
Mhm.
like unbearably so. I feel like audiences who nowadays would go and watch this movie not really knowing what it's about, not knowing the Elaine May thing. I feel like now it would be the only word you would hear coming out of the theater was what Jake used earlier. It'd be cringe. It's like, oh, this is so cringy,
Yeah.
which it is, and I think that's purposeful and I think it's effective. Um, but it's also it really is so much more than that. I think they
Kind of
do, and this
undermines
is
it, doesn't
another.
it? Think.
I do
Yeah.
think to a certain extent because they're especially when you watch the remake again, and really all the remake does is make you appreciate the original more. The original Elaine May's The Heartbreak Kid has such a defined universe and point of view to it.
Mhm.
And nothing ever feels like it's coming out of some other world or some other movie. It is so of a piece with itself and confident with its own specific point of view that makes it so holistic in a certain way that so many movies, especially comedies, especially modern comedies, where it's all about like we're trying to be funny first at the expense of the reality or the humanity of the movie. This movie has such a distinct and specific and defined point of view and world and set of characters that I think makes it such like a complete piece of visionary art that I think is lacking with so many contemporary comedies.
Totally agree
Yeah.
with you.
To kind of not necessarily, bring up the remake, but just like how I imagine a modern comedy would shoot this moment is right after he's, hastily signing all the divorce papers. He goes to the Midwest to Kelly's father's house. And the way that whole bit happens, we start in the living room. They're like reading the newspaper, whatever. The doorbell rings. He gets up, the camera spins around, and then we just watch him walk down the hallway from a distance and opens the door. There's Grodin, but we're still just kind of observing. It's all just done in this one, nice unbroken take, but it's not like it's being showy or anything. You get to like the a remake of what this would look like or somebody else doing it, you would certainly cut to a close up of the door opening and oh, there's Grodin, and then cut, the reverse shot of the father's disappointed face. Like you can tell what the look on the father's face is just from hanging back in the living room. He is sour with anger. It's all, but this is a thing I have where I think movies just there's like just something organic missing about movies nowadays. You know what I mean? Everything is just all, all right, get the actor in, shoot their coverage. They're all cut to shit. There's no like nothing feels like it's rehearsed as if it's gonna, play out and actually build to something. Everything is just kind of very perfunctory, slotting pegs A, B, C into D, E, F. I don't know. Do you get that feeling that just there's really no sense of how to make good art anymore? And this is not only could they not make this movie as they proved 15 years ago, but it's just also something that is it's just a dead art form in many cases.
Well, there's a lot of what I guess you would describe as artifice to contemporary movies, where it's like these are the rules that we have set, and this is how you're supposed to do it. That makes you realize, oh, this is a movie. I recognize this as
Hmm.
how movies work. And in this movie, and I think it has something to do with the fact that Elaine May didn't really want to be a director, and then now she's making her second movie and it feels so much more organic and again sort of like of a piece with a specific world and a specific point of view rather than the way that a movie is supposed to look in the year 2025 that so few filmmakers now have the uh, even just desire to do rather than just I mean you could probably and now I'm just like going all over the place but like the existence of film school is like now people understand this is how movies are supposed to work and these are the rules, this is the rule book that you are now supposed to use to make movies, and it's very hard to get a movie made if you kind of go outside of that rule book. And there's also a lot more quality control slash guardrails around the constraints of how you make a movie unless you're doing it on a very independent level. And this was an independent movie, which is why it is now owned by a pharmaceutical company and may never be seen in like the quality that it should be seen in. But I mean, Jake, you're totally onto something with regards to like, doesn't it feel like something has been lost with sort of the spontaneity of filmmaking that we had 30 to, I mean,
Yeah.
what, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago?
Well, I think we can even talk about it a little bit in terms of we covered even some movies like from Nancy Meyers last year, which are much more conventional comedies from studio films, but she has a unique voice. And that's the thing is voices, I think, lost an auteur putting their stamp on a genre is lost out of certain genres. Like we don't have romantic comedies or comedies anymore that are routinely brought out on a consistent basis. Like,
Oh, I mean,
oh,
comedy is a dead
it's a dead thing.
genre at this point.
I mean,
It's
the
awful.
the the more popular things now are stand-up comedians. They go out there and say, "No, you can't say anything, but I'm going to
Which
say
is
it
that every
again."
action movie
You
now is an
know,
action comedy. The
comedy.
comedies now are Marvel movies.
Well,
Yeah.
every
It's
action
bleak.
movie now is a Deadpool movie. Like that's just the truth. And every or a Marvel movie because they put
Nothing
a
can ever
little
be
bit
too
of
serious, and nothing can ever be too silly. And so
exactly
you get
like
these like
these mashups.
nightmares
Yeah,
of
exactly. No, and I think Jake's absolutely right. I mean, like there was a moment in that moment particular too of when he arrives at the house. And it was almost like a eerily similar, if I mean less experimental shot of like when Benjamin in The Graduate, and Jake keeps bringing back The Graduate because I kept thinking about it a ton. But there's this wonderful shot that I think about a ton of the time with Nichols, where when he tells Elaine, I believe is her name in the film.
It is indeed.
It is indeed, and says that when Benjamin says, confirms that he had an affair with Mrs. Robinson, and when Mrs. Robinson looks at Benjamin and goes, "Bye, Benjamin," and that hallway then extends out in the scene, right? And it's as if Benjamin's soul has sort of further cemented himself away from the mother and from Elaine and everybody in that situation, even though he's clearly 5 feet away from her. His presence and his existence in their world has extended out. And in this shot, I thought about how the fact that yes, they are close together, but again, his Lenny's place in this world now in being inside is still far away, and he has that work at the college and to get Sybil Shepherd back into that and back into the mind space of, oh, this is a guy I want to be with. He still has a little bit of work to go, and that's what we see in the rest of the film. And it's an interesting choice, right? To what Jake you're saying. It's an interesting directorial decision that says so much without having to show, Eddie Albert's facial expressions, really not show fully the extent of Grodin because you're not close up enough to see the nuances there. You're mostly having to tell the rest of him through a faraway shot too. And we just don't see that in comedies. We don't see comedies even get made anymore. I mean, the most successful films nowadays, at least the last couple of years, are action movies, are horror movies,
No, but
and superhero
but now
movies.
every action movie is an action
Exactly.
comedy.
Well, not every action.
Our biggest comedic stars now are like Paul
Ryan-
Rudd, who now basically only does
Mhm.
Marvel movies, and now I think that's changing.
Well,
now,
I would say,
hopefully.
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds is actually probably the most and The Rock are like the most
Yeah.
bankable.
I can't wait for that. I can't wait for that
comedy,
Marty movie to be
quote-unquote,
really sarcastic
stars.
and
Now look, that Marty
saccharine.
movie, if he can wrangle The Rock in, I mean, I think we've got something cooking.
I think
But
I think that
we
I
will
think that
see.
Safdie movie is really again it's going to be the determining factor of whether
Whose is that one? Who is that? Is that Josh's?
It's Benny.
Benny is doing the Rock one, and Josh is doing the
The
Chalamet one.
Chalamet one.
Okay.
It'll be interesting to see who's
My
the Joel
impression
and
is
who's
sort
the
of that
Ethan.
Josh is the Joel Cohen of the.
Yeah, but I don't think
the
Benny's going to
duo.
be as bad as Ethan because like
I mean that and Runaway.
He's
what was it?
working with,
Runaway,
like-
Runaway Dolls. That was
he's
tough.
Benny's making he's
Fairway
acting
Dolls,
in
yeah.
he's acting in Oppenheimer and working with PTA and Licorice Pizza. Like he's surrounding himself.
No, he's around. He's around the right people.
good
for
talent.
sure.
Yeah, so it's
But-
It's gonna be
we'll
the
see.
Odyssey.
He's going to be in the Odyssey. See,
Is
he's
he in
with
the
us.
Odyssey? Is
He's going to
Benny
be
in the
on
Odyssey?
set with
He's
us in
gonna
the
be.
Odyssey.
I think
Yeah.
he's just casted, if memory serves. I think he's Agamemnon is his
Hell yeah.
role. Yeah,
Interesting.
but
Until somebody builds a
Jacob,
bigger
where you are?
Odyssey.
Jake. I said Jacob because that's your name on your
that's
Oh,
okay.
we got really formal here. All right.
Yeah.
that's his name. Jake,
Up.
Nolan, where you at?
Yeah, I will happily go see Nolan. I love Tenet. Really liked Oppenheimer. I reserve or I reserve thoughts until I see the films themselves. So when it's announced and we see he's making an Odyssey movie with all these people, I'm not one to go like, oh man, I can't fucking wait to see that.
Yeah.
Like, I'll see it when I see it. I absolutely will see it though. But I think he's a great filmmaker, made some really strong films. Is my take on Nolan. I think he gets a very, I don't know what the proper word is. Stuff like just like Dunkirk is very
Yeah.
hit and miss for me.
I think
Just
Dunkirk is so good.
Dunkirk
there's
rolls.
there's moments of
I think
greatness.
his last three movies are his best three movies. That's my hot
Interesting.
Nolan take.
Well,
I
the Prestige success, but okay.
I was just gonna say The Prestige is probably my favorite, but
Yeah.
Tenet might actually be a close second, and that took
Love
me a
Tenet.
second rewatch to enjoy it more so. But
He's got-
no, I like Nolan. He's not one of my absolute faves. I don't, I'm not gonna defend him if nobody likes him.
I like
Work
that.
for itself,
For
yeah.
me, if there's going to be a guy that has like a pretty giant blank check and is like the number one guy on the call sheet for cinema in movies right
Here's the
now,
thing about it. He's very important.
yeah.
He's
I mean,
very
like,
important.
I'm sitting here. I'm like, we could have a far worse person
It's
representing
him
us
and
than
Sean Levy. Those are our two biggest right now.
Well, no, I would say it's Sean. It's not Sean Levy. I
The
think
Russos?
no. I think it's him and Cameron. Big Jim is.
I mean, Big Jim is sort of like his
Big Jim's
own
Big Jim.
enterprise. It's like he
Here's
sort of exists
yeah.
outside
But
of
Nolan's
the.
pretty much that too. Like they're brands. They are brands.
I mean,
He is.
for me, really, it's Nolan and Tarantino probably.
I
Yeah,
As
mean,
that's
far as
probably
guys who can get really expensive names
Yeah.
You can get
made off of
anything
their
made.
name.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of
Somehow
people
they
that
gave PTA what, like $100 million to make this next movie.
120, I think.
That
and
is
it's so
so
insane.
silly.
Yeah, I mean,
But I love it. It's
But
gonna
I
be
love
awesome.
it. That's my guy getting his money. You know what I mean, to make whatever. But I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's the old hats like there's Scorsese and Spielberg that can get whatever made at wherever. But obviously, Marty can only get it made now at streamers as opposed to Spielberg, who, I mean, Spielberg has pretty much like a lockstep deal with Universal the rest of his life. So I would say
How much does Ferrari cost?
Would
Is that
Peel be
expensive?
would Peel be a guy? Right, he has to be a guy. He can.
Peel is definitely one of the brand names.
Yeah, he's a
of
brand,
movies
right?
these days. Yeah.
And I mean, Greta's getting her own shot over with Netflix. We just talked about that. So there's a couple more, but I think the number one.
Man, Ferrari cost $100 million. That was what a weird investment that was. Do you think Heat 2 ever gets made?
That's a question for Jake because you know where I stand on that.
do I think what gets made?
Heat 2.
I read the book. I like the book. I don't think he should make the movie.
I don't want him to. I don't want him to make it, but do I think
honest.
it can get made? Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the time has passed in some regard. It only really works for me if you have maybe Pacino 1 year older from when Heat took place, because I don't know how well Pacino could sell that now. I do love the idea of something like fuck, what's his name? He's
Austin
in the Brutal.
Butler?
Joe Alwyn as a young Val Kilmer. I
Oh,
think
that's
that
an interesting choice.
I think that'll be cool. Or even Austin Butler, he's great. But he too. Honestly, I secretly hope that movie doesn't get made.
What did
I'll
he
go
want?
see. I would love to be proved wrong. Absolutely. But
Jay, what did he want? What did Man Want Driver to be? He wanted him to be De Niro in like prequel scenes, right?
I think
that sounds
the
right.
idea was him being De Niro. Yeah.
Or yeah, De Niro. Okay, so who would play Pacino?
Look,
that's
you
the
got
thing.
me. I don't know.
Who plays
Adam
Pacino?
Driver? Adam Driver is what, 1 foot taller than Robert De Niro?
You got to manipulate that camera, man. Yeah, I mean, like again, I don't know who gets that manic energy.
I don't know. I think I'm kind of with Jake. I think where I'm like,
I know.
I mean, obviously, I'll watch it if it comes out, but
You will
no.
no. I'm putting this on the
I
record.
loved,
You
I
will
loved, I loved
1000% be
Ferrari.
there
Like, I
and
thought
watch it.
Ferrari
Yeah.
was
Oh,
great.
yeah.
It is a
No,
Michael Mann movie. We will all
Yeah.
be there. Like number one. Like, will we be very scared? Absolutely. But
Do you think he would
we will
shoot
all
Heat
be
2
there.
on DV? Or do you think he would go back to film? I mean, not like this is actually a very important question. I think he'd go
Maybe.
back to film.
I think he's
you
going to
think
shoot
you
it
think you
on. I think he's going to do DV because it'll be to cut some costs because it's expensive to do.
Possible.
maybe he'll split it, do DV in the
Ooh,
prequel section and then film
that
in
sounds very
in
Michael
the
Mann.
post.
you know what?
Yeah, could work.
I'll take
But
it.
the way I view life now is basically I'm very much I'll believe it when I see it. And so or I'll see it when I believe it. I don't know however the
Either
expression goes.
way.
I believe when I see it. Yeah, either way, like when there's a lot of speculation, like take like James Bond for example, even before the whole sale, like there's a lot of speculation of who will be next, and then there's talks about Aaron Taylor Johnson being the front runner, and everyone's already talking like, oh man, he's gonna be the worst Bond yet, or oh maybe he's got some Bond in him. I'm like you're like, hey, nothing is set yet. I'm not gonna
Nope.
speculate on what is not
They said the same thing about Craig.
established.
How
So
old was Craig when he became Bond, though?
Like,
Wasn't he like
35.
yeah, I was pro Craig when he was
Yeah,
announced.
Yeah.
I love
I
Layer
like
Well, it was
Cake.
because of Layer Cake. Yeah, that was
exactly. Layer Cake is like a perfect demo reel for a next James
Road to
Bond.
Perdition. He's great in that.
If yeah,
Isn't
if
Aaron
I'd
Taylor
have-
Johnson like 40 already?
I'm gonna
he's
look this up. I'll look it up.
probably
Keep
and
going, Jake. I'll look it up.
he's just I mean between Craven the Hunter and Bullet Train, I don't
He's
know
great
if,
in Tenet, though.
and that's
He
true.
He has to
is-
describe the temporal
Jay,
pincer
he is
movement.
in the prime Craig position of 34 years old.
Okay,
Christ, he's younger than me. God
he's
damn.
he's just a little bit older than me.
He's
Very
right.
sad.
He's perfect. I mean, like I have my choice
been
to
around
play
forever.
Bond. Jay knows what my choice is. I've been saying it for years. I don't know if Amazon will have the balls to do it. They'll never do it. Probably now with Bezos and his politics and whatnot, but I'm a Daniel Kaluuya guy as Bond
going
all the way
Kaluuya?
through. All the way through.
I'm going.
Talk about the best actor to get to play that role. Like it's hard pressed to like, and Daniel Kaluuya has like nothing on his slate, so it would be perfect. Would they do it? I don't know. Could you get Steve McQueen to direct it?
TikTok star
Maybe.
is to be James Bond.
Well,
I think I'm one a TikTok guy.
I think for me it's been Dan Stevens ever since I saw
Oh
the
man,
guys.
Dan Stevens would be great.
Dan Stevens
he
has
needs
gone.
it.
He's
He needs
become
it.
like
That's the problem.
weirdo plug and play
He
Yeah.
needs it. I
horror
do.
actor guy.
Did you guys
No,
did you guys watch Cuckoo last year?
I did.
I did not see Cuckoo.
Okay,
Quite liked Cuckoo.
I saw
Jake-
Abigail and Kong though.
He's so good in that movie. That
That's
movie's
his
like
thing.
the movie
he's
is
like a goofy
fine.
German scientist in that, right? Isn't
Yeah.
that his role there?
He's playing a wonderful Bond villain in that movie.
He has
Yes.
not played a normal person in a very long
15
time.
years.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's great. Hunter Schafer's great in it. I quite liked him in that role. I think though, if I had to pick like a real, I brought up Dunkirk. The guy who's the Jack Loudon, the other pilot alongside Tom Hardy.
Yeah,
He's
Jack
the one who
Loudon.
crashes and gets on the boat. I think he could actually be a good Bond as well.
He's doing like Slow Horses. Jack Loudon married
Yeah.
Saoirse Ronan. Like he'd be right in that person.
He's winning.
That guy's
so-
winning right now. He didn't have to do
Google
anything.
Google Jack Loudon. I think you'll see where I'm coming from.
I think
When was the last Bond movie? When did
2021 No Time to Die. Not a bad movie.
delayed. Yeah, I loved it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a good send off for Craig in that era, and
Well, now
it
it's
gets
it's
to be a
just-
hard reset. You know what I mean?
It's
Which
a,
is great.
it's a good set off for Bond too, because now now the Bond's owned by Amazon, and it's gonna be made
a
through
nuclear
there.
weapon.
You could say, oh yeah, the franchise is dead to me, and I'll have just this from 1962 to 2021. That's when it existed.
I do.
Well, the thing that's so funny to me is didn't everybody complain about the Broccoli's all the time for like
Yes.
their chokehold on Bond, and now
Well-
it's not in the Broccoli's control anymore, and now everybody's pissed off. I don't know. It's
to me
interesting
personally, I have said this to people and friends. I know we've gone way off topic, but this is what we do on the show. Is that these are the people that like put all these certain parameters on certain actors and certain directors. it literally just came out that she had a meeting with Nolan and wouldn't give Christopher Nolan fucking final cut on a Bond movie.
Well, they did that with Spielberg back in the day
It's
too. I mean, that's
stupid.
kind
Like,
of
what are
been
you
their
doing?
thing.
Like,
Yeah.
and then they said, no, thank you, Chris Nolan. And then he went on to make a $1 billion Oscar winning film. And they're never going to get him back to the table, probably ever to do that. And he's been wanting to make
But honestly,
Bond
you know
movies
what?
forever.
I'm glad.
I'm
Christopher
glad
Nolan
he's
didn't
no.
make
I'm
a
glad.
Bond movie.
No, I'm glad he didn't.
You know who should
But
make Bond movies? People like Sam Mendes.
No.
Like very talented tacticians with no real vision.
Well,
That's kind of who should make a
well,
Bond movie.
I did say with watching Black Hat recently, I do think Steven Soderbergh would make a great Bond movie one of these days, but I don't know if he'd ever comply with the studio. But
Well, he's made his Bond movies,
I
and
know
they
he
cost 1/3 of what
a Bond.
James
No, I
Bond
know,
movie
but these would actually make money.
Who's
But
the best director who ever made a Bond movie?
John Glenn.
probably, I
He
don't know.
went to
Martin,
the- he went to the moon. He went to the moon.
I don't know.
too.
Martin Campbell did pretty well for himself there in those movies.
I mean, honestly, it's
Martin Campbell has successfully rebooted the franchise twice.
and
I mean,
Style, he did a great job.
Terrence Young is. I mean, you're just running through them all. Terrence Young is great, and when in From Rush with Love, Doctor No. And then you want to be flashier. You got your Guy Hamiltons. You got your Goldfingers. You got your Man with the Golden Gun. You got Live and Let Die.
Jake's my guy right now. He's rattling them off left and right. This is what I brought him on here for.
The John Glenn run of the '80s from For Your Eyes Only, Octopussy,
love.
View to a Kill. Yeah,
Octopusher.
I know. Jake is
He's a
you're
Bond
big
guy.
on
yeah.
Rob.
'90s had some odd choices because after
Yeah.
Martin Campbell, then you have Roger Spottiswoode who directed Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. And then you have Michael Apted, who did the 7 Up series. He seems like
right.
right at home for Bond. Then, I don't know. The best Bond director, but it's probably Martin Campbell, to be honest. Although I do love what Peter Hunt did with On Her Majesty's.
But you're a Dalton guy, right, Jake? You're pro Dalton.
I named my son Dalton after him, so
Wow.
yes, sir. Yeah.
Wow.
You heard it.
Can
here.
I say one more optimistic thing about the Amazon deal that no one's brought up?
Let's hear it.
And I know that people want to be pessimistic, and I am too, because it's Jeff Bezos and it's a billionaire buying this whole thing and everything. But Amazon Studios is the one, right? And MGM that owns the rights to this whole thing now, correct?
Mm-hmm.
For anyone, including Jay Ledbetter, that also they had some movies called Challengers last year and a movie called Nickel Boys. Like, that studio clearly makes good decisions with movies and has for a while.
But did they produce those or did they just acquire those?
They put them in theaters, didn't they? And put Oscar campaigns behind them, didn't they? And
I mean, that's fine. I mean,
I'm not finance those movies. What I'm saying
I'm
is,
not precious about the Bond thing.
I'm saying is, I'm a big Bond
Die
fan.
Another Day exists. Like,
no, I know.
Really
like,
get worse.
Their slate wasn't that great, but also like, I don't know. They're probably going to get somebody in charge of this franchise, much like, Disney does with Feige and all that. Now, I don't believe that they're, obviously they could now. The one thing that Jake and I would fear is like television shows and spinoffs and all this bullshit.
Ooh, Bond Origins.
Exactly. But
get excited.
Also, this is a studio that has literally prized theatrical experiences and has a good relationship with theaters for their films and for this. So I still actually have to wait, like Jake says, and see who is actually in charge of this whole thing before I can actually say burn down the village, it's over. Because, that's you can't say from the same studio that made some of the best indie film or financed or pushed out some of the best independent films of the last couple of years, and a PTA movie, mind you. They own the rights to Licorice Pizza. Like, give them a little bit of a chance. You never know.
There is a huge difference. You did mention Nickel Boys. I had to look this up. They only distributed. They did not had nothing to do.
Okay,
that's not an Amazon original film.
But they got to like acquire it, right, and put it in the theaters, right, and make those deals with everybody.
What was an original film though was Ricky Stenicki. And
that's
now
true.
Back to Peter Farrelly.
Hell yeah!
From one of the two directors of the Heartbreak Kid, 2008. Grodin would have been a good Bond.
He would have been a great Bond, like a Lazenby kind of Bond. Yeah, he would have been like, really?
All right, Jake, we got to power rank the Bond actors.
Oh my God, we're not doing this.
No,
We
this
have
is
to
crucial.
start.
For Jake specifically, we need to do it. And we
All
don't
right.
need to litigate it heavily. I just want to hear
I just want to hear his.
his take.
God damn it. All right.
And you knew this was coming on the Heartbreak Kid episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
all right.
you can't say you weren't prepared.
This has already gone
No,
full off the
I
rails.
know.
Might as well just
I
keep
know.
going with it.
I know. I know. Okay. All right. From the bottom up,
Oh, the bottom up.
Brosnan,
Oh,
Lazenby, Moore, Craig, Connery, Dalton.
wow.
That's
Brosnan.
My
shooting
number
from
one.
shooting from the hip.
And I can say, Ryan, that's who I rated as my number one Bond was Dalton when we did our Bond series back in the day.
What did I? Did I have him 2 or 3? I think I had him 3.
I think
Did I have him 2?
I think you had him. I think you had him 3. I think mine was actually very similar. I think I like Brosnan more than Jake does. I just don't like Roger Moore. I would have Roger Moore last.
Here's the thing.
Lazenby was last. Moore was.
I love them all for different reasons. I'm in the I'm in the mood for Lazenby stars in my favorite Bond film, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. There are plenty of times where I want to throw on a Roger Moore adventure, and Octopussy will get you covered. I think Brosnan he's a very good, well balanced Bond. I think he never swings too hard into the comedy or too and it goes too far on the other side into the Dalton intensity.
You can totally feel the course correction after what they perceived as a failure with Dalton.
It's not his fault that some of those movies are a little winky dinky. You know what I mean? Like this, they just But he's good.
Connery starts out really strong, but he's incredibly bored by the end of it.
He gets a little washed by the end, to be fair.
Diamonds Are Forever is tough.
It's rough. Like a diamond.
I do feel like Craig doesn't sell the seriousness as well as Dalton does, but Dalton really drives it home for me. It's just something that's perfect about him. He's exceptional.
But in order for Craig to walk also, or for Craig to run, you got to have Dalton to walk.
Dalton had to walk.
But it also needed to kind of turn into the overly silly Brosnan thing, so that they could kind of go.
Also too, you needed
cool.
like
I don't know, James Bond's fascinating.
You needed the rest of the world to also be like, you know what, we want serious spy movies like Jason Bourne, and be like, oh, okay, then we'll give you Daniel Craig like that as well too.
Yeah,
it's a great Heartbreak Kid pod.
Yeah, exactly.
Every now and then the Bond franchise has what's called the pendulum swing. It's when it swings too far into one direction where they do have to course correct. The first time it happened was when they did Moonraker, and they sent Bond to space.
Yes.
And then they're like,
Star Wars.
What were we? Yeah, they were chasing Star Wars cloud. What were we thinking? And then the next film they did was For Your Eyes Only, which is a very stripped down, very much just a classic spy adventure, hardly any gadgets. And then 30 years later they come out with Die Another Day, and that's got Bond chasing around an ice castle, outrunning a satellite in North Korea, and then
a white man an Asian man's changed into a white bureaucrat.
Yes, and who's somehow famous enough to be knighted within 14 months of existence.
Just a fascinating film.
Yeah, we've gone so far off the rails. If you're still with us, I appreciate you, listener.
And somewhere in here is a point about
that's a guest coming on and saying, "I appreciate you, listener, if you're still listening to this." I mean, that's
hey, I enjoy hearing from the people.
Exactly.
Listening because I'm on it.
Yeah, that's what they want. They want this shit. You know what I mean? You think we do this just for our health? We do this because people want it.
I've covered Bond extensively. I've written a piece on every film for Film Inquiry. I did a whole podcast series on.
You're the Bond guy.
You're the Bond guy.
I do got my thoughts. I'm happy to whatever happens next happens, but I'll believe it when I see it.
I do think that there is, and I'm kind of like that. I'm like, I can't again, Jake. I can't judge what the future is going to be until I see what the future is, and the future is nothing because there hasn't been anything since No Time to Die.
Who's the biggest British TikToker? I think that's who should be the next Bond.
What about who's the chicken shop girl?
Oh, Amelia de Molenberg or something.
That's your Bond. There you go. She could do it. Yeah. There you go. One nugget at a time. There you go. Elaine May, though, on the Heartbreak Kid. Speaking of Heartbreak, because the Bond franchise, a lot of fans upset out there. Heartbreak Kid. Any final thoughts you guys have on this film?
Yeah, I think it's just it's just tremendously calibrated and everything, every performance in it is pitch perfect. I never grow tired of it and I love it so much. I wish it could be rescued and restored and released properly.
Yeah, no
But
kidding.
we'll see if we'll see that in Elaine May's life or in our lives. It's yet to be determined.
She is
But
so
highly
a
recommended.
pharmaceutical company owns this movie, and because they don't care. Is that why they don't want to like give it to somebody, or is it like
It truly
more
seems like they
they
just do not.
understand what they have?
No, I think they just don't care. They've been approached. There are organizations who are about film preservation who have approached them about it, and I think they're just like, this means nothing in the greater scheme of our portfolio. This is absolutely nothing. We're not even gonna talk about it.
Well, if it
That's
doesn't
sort
mean
of the
anything to
impression
them,
I've
why
gotten.
wouldn't they just
I
fucking
agree
sell it
with you,
off?
Ryan. I agree. I
God, it makes
agree.
me angry. Oh, you know what? Then I changed my mind. Companies like Amazon, fuck them. Never mind. Bond's ruined. Sorry, just changed it in about 5 seconds. No, I mean like that doesn't make any fucking sense. Sorry, like somebody
It
can
is it is very bizarre.
write
Well,
him a
this
check,
this
cut the
this
check.
studio, I think they produced some other movies. They produced Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3,
Oh,
which
well,
but then when they those rights stayed with the production company when
mm,
the acquisition occurred. And I think that's happened with one or two other films that they produced, but the Heartbreak Kid is kind of the one in their possession that people really want to see,
well,
and it
Mr.
just
Cynical,
hasn't been
do
set
you
free.
think it'll happen?
I mean, Big Pharma is pretty reliable for doing the right thing, so I think it'll it'll probably happen.
I just had to ask him. I knew that that was going to be the answer to it,
I
but
don't. It is baffling to me that it hasn't happened and that they can't just go have one meeting with some even semi-important person at the company and be like, "Hey, people want this, and it will be literally free money for you, and you'll never have to hear about it again. Can
it'll
you just
also
give us the
be
rights?
good
Give us the
publicity.
canister, and
Honestly, it would
we'll
be good
yeah."
publicity too.
If anyone is listening here who wants to take it upon themselves to be the next Luigi Mangione and assassinate the
Jesus
rights owner
Christ.
of Heartbreak Kid and write release Heartbreak Kid on the bullet casings, let us know.
That is we at Director Watch do not condone
What was
what Jake
the
is
what was
implying,
the
but
documentary about the
clearly,
Sacklers a couple years ago?
all the Beauty and the Bloodshed,
Yeah, that's how I feel about the Heartbreak Kid
all the heartbreak and the kids.
and
I
the
don't know.
kids.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go.
All the heartbreak in the kids.
There you go. Um, Jay,
Yes.
before we get out of here
Hmm.
and before we get sued by anybody, we're going to test your award season knowledge based on the film we just reviewed. And it's something we like to call it's an honor to get nominated for the film The Heartbreak Kid. Now, Jay, this is a fundamental question I ask you at every episode.
Hmm.
Was The Heartbreak Kid nominated for any Academy Awards?
I do know it was nominated for one because I looked after seeing The Fablemans. I
Okay,
looked up kind of Jeannie Berlin and I saw that she was nominated for this movie. So I know that she was nominated for Best Supporting Actress
that's correct.
for this film. That is the only one that I am sure of.
Okay.
And I'm going to guess the beginning and end of the rest of its Oscar history was screenplay adapted, and I'm going to say that was its only other nomination.
It was not.
I'm gonna guess.
Oh,
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 I
Jake.
was gonna
Oh,
Yeah,
guess.
go ahead,
Jake's
Jake.
gonna guess. Oh, okay, go, Jake.
Well, it sounded like you started to give it away. I was gonna guess screenplay as well, but
Okay.
that's all I got.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Jake, you and Jay,
Jake.
Jake. What is,
AYK.
what is it? ET on the podcast now? Jesus.
Mhm. Need to watch that
Ouch.
again.
You're both wrong, unfortunately. The screenplay was not nominated,
That is
but
bizarre.
it was nominated for
Sounds like the
another
Oscars were wrong if you tell
another
me.
Academy Award. It was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for Eddie Albert.
Wow.
Ooh,
No
wow.
Grodin,
Nope.
Eddie Albert getting
No screenplay, no Grodin, but the
Well
two supporting
deserved.
I
players.
mean, he's very good in it.
He's very good in this
That's
movie.
an interesting nomination. I mean, really, to me, the magic of Heartbreak Kid stems from Grodin for me. I mean, if you go
Yeah.
beyond like May and Simon and all that, the performances for me, Grodin is like alchemically incredible in this
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. He's just supernaturally great, and sad to have lost him several years ago. But yeah,
He
we
had his run
love.
on 60 Minutes.
Yeah,
This is
I
the
mean, yeah.
year
Any Grodin movie is yeah great. Although I haven't really seen the Beethovens, but
1973 Oscars.
I will
This
say
was
Beethoven's second, one of the great movie titles, in my opinion.
Beethoven the second.
It's Beethoven's second,
Beethoven's second. Oh,
as if
okay.
it was his symphony.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
I think it's a very good
I
title.
can see how
I'm
amused
just
you are by that.
I just imagining Tyler Durden in a fight. Oh, I get it. It's very clever.
That's very clever. 1973 Oscars, celebrating the films of 1972 and the 45th Academy Awards. This was the year The Godfather
Yeah.
won Best Picture. Cabaret Deliverance, The Immigrant's Sounder, the other films nominated for Best Picture. Best Actor went to Marlon Brando
Yep.
for The Godfather.
I mean, he's pretty good in that.
He's pretty good, even though he's in the wrong category, because Brando is, in my opinion, a supporting player in that film.
Sleuth, that was produced by the same company.
Yes, they've been able to get that out there, right?
Pollinter or some Palomar. Yeah, that one I think that one is the most complicated of the ones that has actually gotten released, but it has gotten released, yes. That was made by Mank's brother.
Yes, it
Also
was
called Mank.
Also, Joseph L. Mankiewicz, who is nominated for Best Director this year for Sleuth as well too.
Interesting. Haven't seen it.
Peter O'Toole for The Ruling Class and Paul Winfield for Sounder were also nominated in Best Actor. If you wanted to replace, I mean, obviously, I would put Grodin in here. He's pretty undeniable. And
Hell, I'd put Heartbreak Kid in picture here.
Yeah.
over what? What would you take
For
out?
me.
I'd take out Cabaret because I'm not a big fan.
I mean, I don't think Deliverance is that good.
Yeah,
Although
or
I am
Deliverance.
related to the author of Deliverance.
You are?
That is that is a family book there.
James Dickey?
Whatever that says. Yes, James Dickey. My mother's maiden name is Dickey.
Oh, how in terms of relation? What is?
He's like a second great uncle or something.
Oh.
It's not that close, but not that far away, I guess.
Well, congratulations, Jay.
Thank you. Still not seeing the residuals from that one, but one day.
He was
honestly, you know what? I'll say it. I might like this movie more than The Godfather.
Jay. No.
It's possible.
Jay.
Is it better than The Godfather?
Jay. What are you doing?
I mean, The Godfather's great, obviously. I'm not gonna.
No, but it sounds like you're undermining The Godfather here.
No, The Godfather's great. I mean, we went over this, right? I now like.
You're about to
I've come
but
around to.
here,
I think Godfather
you're about to
1
say
is better than Godfather 2.
You know, you can hear
but
it. You can hear it,
I
Jay,
have
right? You can
seen-
hear it a little bit in his voice.
I feel like we've seen so many movies like Godfather since, and I just don't know that we see movies like the.
I mean, that's a fair point, but also like.
But that's no fault of The Godfather.
That's not the fault of The Godfather that a bunch of shitty movies have come out since. Like, it's not their fault.
Yeah. What's that movie where Robert De Niro's playing two people soon?
Oh, what is it? Alto Nights? That looks awful. Looks fucking terrible. Or is that Barry Levinson? Right?
I think you're right. I think that is Barry Levinson.
It is Barry Levinson, and I know that because I went to go see EFIS in theaters last night, and I was running late. But luckily, AMC has 30 minutes of trailers, and that was I walked in as that trailer was wrapping up. It was the Moby song. The title popped up, Alto Nights, and I saw Barry Levinson's name, and I was like, oh
yes,
wow,
the Alto Nights. Yes,
no idea what that's
what
about. And then the movie started.
All right,
but
sounds good. Shot by Dante Spinotti. Good DP. Maybe it'll be good. I don't know. I mean, honestly, give it to The Godfather. I'm at peace with that over Heartbreak Kid. I'll be all right.
I would.
Godfather's pretty good.
I would give because
I'll say something. I mean, same year, 1972. Just kind of looking it up. What's Up, Doc? I'd put over this movie and The Godfather.
What's Up, Doc's great.
I haven't seen it. That's a
Also,
blind spot.
oh man, when you
I
guys
gotta
do
watch it.
Bogdanovich, let me know. I'll happily come back for that one.
Bogdanovich.
Yeah,
Sybil
Hmm.
Shepherd,
yeah.
Last Picture Show. But this
There
was
you
Sybil
go.
Shepherd's second movie, Heartbreak Kid, after Last Picture Show.
Amazing.
Elaine
Yeah.
May did not want her for the movie. She originally hired a brunette actress. Um, Everyone decided it was fundamental that the actress be blonde. That blonde or that brunette got a blonde dye job, and her hair started falling out, and they needed to film, and so Sybil Shepherd was brought on as her replacement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right. Okay. Well, there you go.
All right.
The more you know. Thank you, Jay, for that.
You're welcome.
Could have used that earlier, but didn't know that now. When I said, "Do you have anything else to say about this movie?" You wait until now to bring this up, but
Well,
okay.
I'm glad we got it. I'm glad we
I'm
got
glad
it
we
in
got it
here.
in.
I
There's
do
no
think
question about it. You just the listening skills are in.
going to the kind of graduate comparisons again. I do think that a lot of money in tear gas is very similar to me to him just saying plastics,
Plastics.
in the graduate.
Though the
That's
one thing
good.
that the graduate does have on the Heartbreak Kid is not any Simon and Garfunkel songs in this film. I'll tell you that. That's the one
There-
thing. But there
There's
are
the
some
great-
needle drops.
The Graduate is such a virtuosic like piece of
So weird. I love
filmmaking.
that
I mean,
movie. I
it's
love that
such a
movie.
exciting.
There's a great little Paul Simon song, Simon-esque song that opens up the Heartbreak
I was
Kid.
gonna say there was kind of like that.
Hey, take your smile.
That's a
Keep it
cover of
together.
who the it's not the Carpenters. Somebody.
Not sure. There's also not just the there's a lot of money in tear gas, but he works in sporting equipment and which Eddie Albert reduces to balls and bats. And he's like, "Well, sir, did you know that last year $2 million were spent in the recreation
Was it
industry?
2 million or 2 billion?
Million or billion?" I kind of flubbed it to be honest because I couldn't recall the
I think
exact
he says.
quote,
I think
but
he says like 200 million or something. I
Yeah,
think
it
is
was
the
like
number.
it's
oh, okay.
like
It's a lot
balls
of
and
money.
bats.
He says on balls and bats. He just produces him to the most. This is a great film.
Yeah, I would give this would be adapted screenplay. I would give this adapted screenplay over The Godfather. I'll give
I
you
think
that, Jay.
I would give Grodin the win, like
Oh,
straight
oh
up.
yeah, straight up, I would too. Like I totally would be
Yeah.
down for that.
No, I love when actually a great comic performance actually wins something like Marissa Tomei in My Cousin Vinny
Mhm.
or
Or did she win?
like what?
Oh
That's
wait,
what.
is that the conspiracy theory? Is that she didn't actually win?
Yeah,
Oh,
there's a lot of people that believe that the wrong
Mhm.
name was read, but the person on stage
They
said it.
didn't.
And
They didn't moonlight
it's
it.
a lot of ways to undercut
glad they
Marissa
didn't
Tomei.
follow
You know
up
what I
on
mean?
that. But also like Kevin Kline in A Fish Called Wanda is
Yeah,
just such a great whirlwind of a performance, and it's like
that's why I think
it's nice.
a lot of
Nice,
people wanted
yeah,
Gosling to win for Barbie because they were like, we don't get these every now and then. You know what I mean? It's like, and I get it.
yeah.
Because this is a damn good performance by Grodin. It's like,
I think you could throw editing in there for this movie.
yeah, it's really well edited.
Cabaret won. Cabaret is a very well edited movie.
Yeah.
Cabaret
It's
won a crap ton of Oscars.
You know
and
what? I
sit
think
there and
Ryan. I
go,
think we did Cabaret a little dirty when we talked about it.
no, I think we did it just about
I
right.
think Cabaret is pretty good.
It's not that good. It's
I mean,
fine.
it's
no all that jazz.
no all that jazz, but what is?
Not many films,
Not many.
though. I would take. I don't know. Would I take The Heartbreak Kid over all that jazz?
I would
know.
take all that jazz. All that jazz is one of my 10 favorite movies ever.
Yeah,
But
I don't know. So, Jake,
Superb.
what if a movie completely hated itself? But anyway,
Jake, thank you so much for coming on and doing this silly show with us. As always,
Guys,
sir.
always a fun time talking movies with you two. I love doing it. Happy to come back anytime.
Jake, can you tell everybody where they can find you and all your work on the internet? And if you could, sir, before you get out of here, also give our listeners a recommendation of the week. Could be anything, doesn't have to be something new. It could be something old or something recent that you've caught up with or rewatched that you want everybody to go out there and check. And it does not have to tie back into The Heartbreak Kid.
You can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd. I'm at Jake Tropila, JakeTropila. You can find my writings and such there. And for something else to watch, check out Shakedown by James Glickenhaus. It's a buddy cop movie from 1988 starring Peter Weller and Sam Elliott. And it's fantastic. I just watched it the other night for the first time, and think you might enjoy that.
Just
It's a
putting that
great
one on
time.
the list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Shakedown. Check it out.
Thank you, Jake, as always.
Go
Always a
Yeah,
good time.
go
thank you,
give Jake a
gentlemen.
follow. One of the great follows online. I love everything that Jake is
No,
tweeting out these days. It's just wonderful stuff.
There you go.
you're too kind.
Jay,
Yeah, man.
same drill.
Yeah, Letterboxd, J Ledbetter, Twitter at Mr. J Ledbetter. My recommendation for the week is going to be a film called Breaker Morant. Sort of
Ooh,
a little bit of a proto A Few Good Men Australian war courtroom drama. Um,
drama.
really good movie. Liked it a lot. Doing that in preparation for our 1980 retrospective on the old AwardsWatch podcast, and that was a real discovery. Really loved that one.
Nice.
So cinematic, despite being sort of a traditional courtroom drama, and also very Australian. So check that one out. Breaker Morant, really liked it, from director Bruce Beresford, who made a bunch of other stuff, but nothing nearly that good. He directed Driving Miss Daisy, I believe. So,
Cool.
good for him, I guess. But he made one movie that was good other than that.
Always seen that title, so I'll check it out.
Yeah, check that one out. It's good.
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd at Ryan McQuade77. If you like podcasts, we have the Awards Watch podcast, the main show that's released every Monday. 5 stars on iTunes, Spotify. We greatly appreciate it. While you're on the website, please sign up for the newsletter. We'd greatly appreciate it. My recommendation of the week, I was at South by Southwest. I saw a ton of films. I'll talk about some of those as they come out throughout the year. There's one coming up, or maybe at the time of release of this episode, it will be out. I saw The Accountant 2, and
Oh yeah, man.
The Accountant 2, damn good cinema. It's damn good food for the soul. And it's better
Some
than the
honest
first.
cauliflower.
It
There's no
really
deceit in
is.
that cauliflower.
There's no deceit in it. There's a scene in this movie, a sequence in this movie, Jay, that is so crazy, given the world of The Accountant, that it might end up being one of the best scenes of the
I
year.
really like The Accountant
Straight up.
one. I'm a
The
big
Accountant
fan.
one, a silly movie, in terms of just everything that happens with that character and what it all means. But
Bernthal.
Bernthal gets more here in the second one, sort of
Okay.
doubles down on the
I-
brotherly dynamic, and I gotta tell you guys, I had a blast with this darn thing.
Sounds good. I can't wait. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'll see it.
All right, you guys gotta go see it, and report back to me on. There's a scene in the middle, and we'll talk about it. You'll know exactly what the scene is when you see it. It's truly something to behold. Anyway, next week we will be back. We will be talking about the next film in our Elaine May series, Mikey and Nicky. So thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you all next time.